Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Kevin Goh from Singapore and thank you for joining me. Today in commentary we have a couple of very distinguished and special guests who have known Dr. Suliyang for a number of years back in the days when they were still schooling and playing chess for the country. So thank you very much FIDE Master Ong Chong Gi. Uh, And of course, we always have our resident guest commentator, National Master Olympio Akan, who once again has problems with his video feed. So we can only see where he's living on, which is planet Earth. Uh, welcome, Mr. Olympio. Yeah, Chongi, maybe you want to share uh, how how you know the legend and how did this nickname even come about in the first place?
Young has always been a very precocious child. So I remember when we were 13, 14, when most of us were reading Hardy Boys, he was reading Dante's Inferno. Right, so he's always had a superior brain. I think all of us quickly recognized that. And after a while, it felt it just wasn't fair, playing with somebody who had a mental capacity that was just so much greater than the rest of us. But we accepted our uh, uh, status in the pecking order that there'll always be the legend, and then there'll be the rest of us fighting for second and third place.
So he's like a superior being, yeah, in the greater sense of things, or
Well,
in all
clearly a
things.
superior brain. Some of the cruelty that he displays in torturing his opponents make us question whether it's a superior being or not, but clearly a superior brain.
So you have played in many team events with him, and how has the experience been like? Okay, we are seeing a lot of moves being played on the in the games, but we will wait for a little bit for the middle until the middle game comes into play before we go into it. So
Yes, I've played many tournaments with him. The first one, I believe, was an Asian Cities tournament back in 1990 in Dubai. And Dubai back then was very different from the Dubai we know today. It was basically just a desert. And we shared a room, and we've been roommates in many tournaments since then. One of the more notable tournaments we played together was the 1994 Olympiad in Moscow. So that tournament, I shared a room with Terry. Liang was with somebody else, maybe it was Mao Chan. And luck would have it, first round we were paired against Russia A team, which obviously had Kasparov, Karpov, Bariev, Driev, Svidler, and so on and so forth. And Russia made the critical mistake of resting their first two boards, Kasparov and Karpov. So it was Bariev playing international master Su Liang. And Bariev was white, so it should have been quite an easy game, right? Bariev was at that time number 4 in the world, I believe. But he didn't realize he was playing with a superior brain. So as the game went on, it just got tougher and tougher. At one point, I think even Liang had an advantage. And finally, wiping his brow from sweat, he offered a draw. And Liang said, "Let me think about it."
but he
And made him wait for, I think, a couple of minutes before he said, "Okay, remes," right? Which was Liang, the precocious child, used always the most elaborate term, in this case, the French word for draw. And he said, "Okay." And shortly after that, Gary Kasparov came storming onto the stage.
you guys
And
were on stage,
started.
yeah, I think,
We
since
were
you
on stage because it
board
was the
one, I
first
think,
one,
yeah.
and started, talking very loudly in what we have to assume is Russian, and berating Bariev. And Bariev definitely didn't play for the next couple of rounds. So in our first ever where Singapore played Russia, we actually were on the scoreboard with half a point from Dr. Su.
And that was in Moscow, in their at their home ground with all their fans in attendance, and and people were shocked, I think, with the score.
And no one could believe it. Uh, and in the end, I think Bariev was exiled to Canada, where he still lives.
No,
Um,
we have to get to Bariev and ask him if he still remembers the game. But well, what I do know is that the game was eventually featured in a few theoretical books, which
yes,
is uh, on the Queen's Indian defense, which happened in the game. So that was a
yes,
memorable story because back in those times we have no grandmasters. It's not like we have a lot of grandmasters now, but back in those days we have very few international masters, and there were people who didn't even know Singapore existed, and even if they do, they have no idea where Singapore was or is.
mm,
And
mm,
to get onto the big stage and to play Russia in the first round and to get half a point is definitely not something that can be said to be easy or attainable even now with the gradual increase in strength of chess players all over the world. So so that was a sensational story which I learned when I grew up, and and of course my experience with Dr. Su is that he became an international master at a very young age. I think about around the age of 20, and he came to my school when I was in, I think, around primary six. So I was studying at Boon Lay Primary School, a neighborhood school. So he came and he gave a simultaneous exhibition, and obviously he was the single reason why I continued to play chess, because in that game he, as we like to say, he gave chance, and there begins my long and torturous journey of taking chess a lot more seriously. So he was kind of like a
yeah,
hero to all the young players back in those days.
absolutely. So, Women, can I also add that many people within our generation of chess ended up quitting chess largely because of the legend, because after a couple of tries, it became obvious to them that they didn't stand a chance. So I'll just mention two. There was Lionel, who was easily a top five player in RI in those days. And he quit chess quite early, I think in Sec 3 or Sec 4, and eventually became the CEO of the Singapore Tourism Board. I think today if I'm not wrong, he works in Grab. And then the other one is Jeremy Lim, who was also a very talented junior, just maybe a year younger than Liang. And eventually, he realized it was a lost cause, so he quit chess early. And also went on to a very, very successful career. So in general, those who Liang persuaded to stop playing chess because of the wide gap in playing strength actually went on to great careers, while some of the rest of us who continue doggedly to play on remain small potatoes for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite describe you as a small potato, considering that
Oh, very
uh,
small, very small.
considering that you are quite an accomplished uh, you know in the field of finance. Um, we are still waiting for International Master Terito to join us, and he people are commenting in the chat that they are small potatoes, but yeah, we'll share a little bit more about the small potato philosophy when Terry comes online, because he is he strongly believes in it, and he has been talking about it ever since. He probably was the first person to even coin it in Chinese. Uh,
小土豆思想.
思想小土豆思想.
Yes,
So that's
yes.
we'll wait for the very eloquent and flamboyant lawyer and international master to join us. And Junior, if you are watching this, can you please just give him a nudge and ask him to come online? So Olympio, I think you have given Dr. Su a nickname of your own.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I played him in quite a few casual games, Blitz and Rapid, and stylistically one of the things that sets him apart from the other players, not just in Singapore but maybe in Southeast Asia, is his extremely well developed defensive acumen. You can throw anything at him, he will survive in most dire circumstances. And I got so frustrated over time, over years, that it was very difficult to kill, literally, even in a blitz game. And I came up with this idea that he's a bit like Dracula. You have to actually make absolutely sure about his demise. You can't just assume that he's going to collapse easily. And yeah, I think this is one of the trademarks of his playing style. Um, his defensive was solid and positionally refined. That, as we will probably see today in some games, it's not so difficult to checkmate him actually, even when the position looks very good. And I think On Chong Yi can speak to this because their styles are very different. Chong Yi is more aggressive, more attacking in nature, whereas Dr. Su is a bit calmer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so to be more accurate, I'm a former attacking player, as Liang has also reminded me often. And I really gave up attacking chess because it's just, it's just too frustrating trying to attack against Liang. So I've become, since then, a positional and a very patient positional player.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things you learn when you play a lot against Su Liang, I guess.
yeah, and Chongi is no slouch himself. He's a FIDE master. He has beaten many strong players when he was an active player, beaten strong international masters, and so for him to say something like that is really kind of special. He doesn't say the same of me, so you know that shows a lot.
I just haven't played as much against you. And, the result will be quite foretold, I think. Same thing with Jin Yao.
No, I think we played a couple of games. I think the first time we played we made a draw, and I was a small kid and I was very pleased. I think I was under pressure with the white pieces and I had to defend for a long time into a finally getting into an end game and where I was barely survivable. So maybe we can kind of jump straight into the games. Is there any game that interests you? Chongyi and Olympio?
Well, they're all roughly in the opening, so we can maybe go in sequential order, perhaps. The first one looks like Catalan, which is very interesting that someone chose to play that against, Liang played that against somebody else, right? Liang is white in the first game?
No, Liang is black. So if you look at from the point of view, so if yeah,
Okay.
Liang is
Okay.
playing black now.
Okay, so Liang is black. So I think Liang has played at least 1,000 games in this position and only against one opponent. And there's this contemporary of ours who only plays against Liang and nobody else, right? And they can play this same opening like over and over again and talk about all the nuances until the centi-pawn score that they can get in these games is below 10. And for those who are not that familiar with that, that defines the quality of the game in terms of the number of mistakes. And it's almost impossible to get centi-pawn scores below like 15 or 20, and they get like scores of 7 and 8 because they've just played this position so many times. So I don't fancy the opponent's chances because Liang knows this opening extremely well.
Yeah, definitely. I think Liang has a reputation of playing in a very solid and defensive way with the black pieces. So he has gone for the most classical response to the Catalan with d takes c4. So even already on move 5, black has a number of options. For instance, he could take on c4, followed by all sorts of setups when white replies with castles. There's bishop d7, there's knight to c6. So the Catalan is a very serious opening that was largely popularized by Grandmaster Boris Avrukh in his books for quality chess, and ever since, and of course, Vladimir Kramnik used it to great extent when he was ruling the chess war. So So there are many options at this juncture because black was trying to figure out how best to combat the Catalan in the most active possible way. And after castles, white castles, black could go c6, but which is now kind of established as a slightly inferior response. And Liang doesn't play inferior moves. So he goes for the most principled approach with d takes c4, and after queens to c2, black goes a6. Black can try to hang on to the pawn with b7, b5, but white has the response knight to e5, and even without this, there are some other approaches associated with the pawn sacrifice b2 to b3, where white tries to establish a clamp on the queen side. So after a6, white plays a4, which is the one of the main moves. There's also queen takes c4, and after b5, queen c2, bishop b7. Black intends to complete development with knight bd7 and pawn to c5, and this is a hugely theoretical position where many games have been played, but so far I believe the theoretical status is extremely fine for black. So a4 is considered these days to be the sort of critical approach, stopping b7 b5 and inducing black to play the slightly awkward looking move bishop d7 with the idea of putting the bishop on c6. White continues with queen c6, queen c4, black plays bishop c6, and this is more or less the starting position of this line. And white has a couple of different approaches: bishop f4 or bishop to g5, and followed by trying to establish central control with e2 e4. So I've played this actually a few times with Liang on online, because I was trying to understand what this structure means and why this opening is so popular for white. So white goes rook d1 in most of my games with him, and after knight bd7, I play bishop g5, followed by knight to d2 and rook to c1, but I didn't get anything in those games as well. So I'm curious to see how this game eventually pans out. But it is quite reasonable to assume that the legend is not going to be in any opening issues from this here on.
So Wei Ming, I did have a question. Liang played knight d5, right? Attacking the f4 bishop, but wasn't another plan maybe bishop d5 followed by c5, and when the knight comes out to c3, maybe pulling the bishop back to c6 again?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. So yeah, so you're suggesting bishop to d5, and if queen to c2, black goes
How about queen
c5?
c7?
And then c5, yeah?
Or and if
But
queen
wait a
c7, then you take, and then it's a pawn sacrifice. I don't know if it's enough, but
Yeah, I suppose the problem with this position is that if white goes knight to c3, trying to get the bishop pair, there's argument to be made for black to play bishop takes f3 now,
yes,
followed by
c.
c takes d4.
Actually,
Yeah, bishop takes f3 looks quite fine for black, because after bishop f3, cd4. I am extremely big on the bishop pair argument, but in this case you win a solid extra central pawn. And after, let's say, knight to e4, black goes e5, and there is some kind of compensation in the form of the strong light square bishop on f3, bearing down on the b7 pawn, but the pawn is a pawn, and Liang would grab the pawn without hesitation, I think. So I think that there is a lot of merit in what you just shared. After bishop d5, yeah, queen c2. If you don't go c5, yeah, c5 is the only logical move because you want to create active play. So instead, maybe white goes knight d takes c5, and you were saying that black can go rook to c8,
or just take it back, right?
Yeah, let's say knight to
with
c5.
the knight from.
Yeah, let's say knight to c5, white goes knight c3, and the logical move would be bishop c6, keeping the bishop pair for the time being. And
Maybe rook d1, pinning the knight.
Rook F,
Or
yeah, or rook
yeah.
F d1, for example. I selected knight takes c5, but this is probably fine as well. But maybe there is some pressure after, let's say, queen c8, white goes b4,
And then knight e4, right?
and then there's knight e4. Yeah, so that's
And
not.
then if takes, bishop takes, and change off the queens, looks probably drawish.
Yeah, but well, on the other hand,
But he
maybe
doesn't.
he wants to keep the pieces on and to sort of, because once you go c5, white has many ways to sort of liquidate pieces, and maybe that wasn't in L's mind at all. So
Yes.
maybe
Do we know who this player is, Sapia66? Because he's clearly the strongest player in this entire Simul,
Sapia
just by
66,
the rating.
a very familiar name, I think. Is that Frank? Olympia, do you remember Frank? I suppose you do.
Oh, yeah, it could be Frank, a German player who used to live in Singapore for some years. Now he's based in KL, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, knight to d5 is also, I think, quite playable. But I don't quite understand this, because now white could go knight takes d5. Ah, no, sorry, it's black to move. So
It's black's move, right?
so I think that what Liam had in mind was something different. He wanted to perhaps capture
Wow, bishop d6.
bishop d6.
I know
play.
Liang likes to play this type of move in this sort of position, but I don't see many grandmasters playing it like that.
Yeah.
Bishop d6. I've seen him play it so many times against his former senior. Sometimes he's okay. Sometimes he gets a horrible position and he ends up swindling somehow along the way. But makes me wonder whether bishop d6 is really accurate.
Yeah, but you have to be very careful when you say things like that, because if L reviews the commentary and he hears that you are doubting his moves, then there may be a hell to pay. So
Are you talking about disproportionate retribution?
Yeah. It's never proportionate when it comes to it's never one. It's never a tooth or a tooth. So,
and I wish Terry was on the stream, because he can share some interesting experiences about disproportionate retribution.
yeah, for some reason he's still not coming onto the stream, and I have no idea why. So maybe he's afraid.
Should we move to game 2? I think we have a bunch of games to look at. This is a bit too slow.
Yeah, fair point.
you.
Fair point.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at the game with I think this is Sai, one of our young players. So Liang is white in this game.
This is just a big advantage for white.
So we see the queens can be accepted, and bishop before check is something that is at the very least not commonly played. I think typically they try to go c5, they go knight c6, and they take on d4, giving white an isolated pawn, and then we get the usual IQP position where white tries to attack and black defends. So bishop b4 check, bishop d2, kind of unexpected to me. Intuitively I felt knight c3 could have been played. I wouldn't have swapped bishops at this point, but let's see what happens after that. Queen d2, knight c3, a6, castles b5, bishop b3, bishop b7, rook a c1. I guess in this position, the main thing that black has to try to achieve is the eventual pawn break c7, c5. And I would argue that
sorry.
yeah.
Interesting moment here. Did Liang just play rook a1?
Yeah, which is very strange, because black could now play bishop takes f3.
Yeah, why did he?
Because after bishop f3, gf3, black even achieves the pawn break that I was trying to say, c7, c5, which kind of liberates the entire black position. So for example, going back to move 11, if black has gone c5 now, white could
black
take,
is better, right?
White could take on c5, and the queen is defended by the knight. Yeah, so after bishop f3, gf3, c5. Yeah, I quite like black's position now, actually. So this could be just a, in a Simul you want to play fast, and maybe this could be a very small oversight. Yeah, just note how careful I am.
No, sorry, I beg to differ. I don't believe this is an oversight because Liang doesn't miss moves. I think he's just trying to make it a bit more interesting by offering some chances for his opponent to also show his fantastic Tahan skills, right?
Yep, that's his nickname.
Unfortunately, the
Yeah.
opponent didn't see it. If he did, I think we get a beautiful display of the brand of chess that Liang is so famous for, Tahan chess.
Yeah, black goes knight c6, rook f d1, queen e7, and now the Liang played the d4 d5, which is quite interesting. Because after queen e7, my immediate thought was to go knight to e2 to try to gain more control over the c5 square, followed by knight e2 to f4 to d3, kind of stifling black's idea to make the pawn break c7 c5. But after d5,
Wei Ming, what about instead of d5? What about a move like e4? What do you think of a move like that? Just trying to get a bit more center control.
yeah, e4 ideally is establishing the ideal pawn center. E4 d4 would be something that white wants in general. But I guess maybe here black could play knight to a5, attacking the bishop on
Then
b3.
bishop c7, bishop c2, right?
And after
Oh,
bishop
then
c,
he has a knight c4.
there's knight c4 and there's b4. So
Oh,
b4
yeah,
attacking
you're
c3.
right.
And
So e4 doesn't work for tactical reasons.
yeah. So the problems with having an ideal pawn center is that you have to be careful about, you have to watch out that it can come under pressure very, very quickly, and if you can't hold it, then the position might fall apart. And yeah, d5 is also a very interesting approach. And after e takes d5, let's say black takes with the knight takes d5, takes, bishop takes d5. I think white is a bit better.
How
Then,
about
yeah,
yeah? How about instead of taking on d5, we go knight a5? I think this is exactly the kind of tactical fight that sometimes Su Liang invites. So let's say knight a5 after d5.
yeah, knight e5 is an interesting move.
Yeah, take on e6.
Yeah, but now
And then I take on f3.
yeah,
I
and
think this should be quite interesting.
gf3.
And then I just give away the f7 pawn. I play rook a d8.
Or maybe you can go knight takes b3.
Correct.
Yeah,
I would
I
play
feel-
knight takes b3 first.
Knight takes b3,
Bishop f3.
ef7, queen f7, a b3, and at the very least you could recapture the pawn on b3, or if you want to get on with an attack on the king side, you can go maybe queen h5, maybe b4, and you need to try to get the f6 knight into play, which is not trivial at this moment, because while these pawns are doubled, the f3 pawn limits the scope of the f6 knight quite effectively. So I'm not sure whether black has a useful attack on the king side. But what I would probably do is to take on b3, and we have equal material with a better pawn structure. So Liang will have a very good chance to display his defensive skills here.
Is the kind of position he truly enjoys. Yes.
Yeah, just to watch white squirm, figuring out why he's not better, or why his position is slowly getting worse. So
Yeah, sometimes it's not slowly. Sometimes it just the sudden burst of tactics and then you're lost.
and the game is over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next game against Goose Feathers. Yeah, I played against Goose Feathers yesterday in my banter blitz. So not a bad player,
Yeah. But looks like quite a strong bind on the dark squares.
especially on the
that Liang
c5,
has.
especially on the c5 square.
Yeah. And the a6 pawn is weak. Of course, they may not be able to take it immediately because some rook a8 kind of tricks, but looks very unpleasant for black.
Yeah, this interestingly, I think after a6, I think that usually white goes e3, e4 on move 10, which also looks very promising actually. But I guess after e4, there was dc4, bishop takes c4, black goes b5. Okay, but white goes bishop d3, black goes e5, and maybe L didn't like this position. Yeah, c5, bishop c7, and here the main pawn breaks that the black should be looking out for would be e6, e5, freeing up the light square bishop, which currently is a very unhappy camper on c8. And this would be the main positioner struggle, because white could easily reinforce the dark squares on the queen side with b4 and possibly a3, but the fight for the e5 square is a lot more critical now. White goes b4, and I would think that the e5, every time black tries to go e5, he has to think of whether there's e3, e4, sort of blowing the center up, and getting into the kind of tactical mess that you mentioned earlier, Chonggi, about, and that's Liang's forte. So this is quite interesting actually. I'm not sure what's going on here. E d4, knight to d4. Yeah, this is a mess after ed, knight d4.
Yeah, it looks like the kind of position that the better player will outcalculate the weaker player.
Yeah. The d6 square also could be a source of issues in the future.
The f5 square as well.
Yeah, and after black goes b5, c takes b6, bishop b6. Yeah, b5 is something that I would really advise against now, because after taking on b6, knight to a4 and rook to c1, this bind on the c5 square is so unpleasant for black. And the c6 pawn becomes backward, it's not easy to defend, and the c8 bishop once again will find it extremely difficult to get into play. So I'm looking at somebody in the chat was asking, do you have any recommendations on books and resources to improve your endgame technique? Do you have anything to say about that, Chonggi and Olympio?
I think I'll defer to Olympio, because Olympio is much more current and also an author in his own right.
I would say starting with the basics, with the greatest endgame players of all time, the classics, Capablanca, Rubinstein, and then move on to some modern manuals. One of them, let's say, little known ones would be the Shereshevsky manual on endgames, which has some very clear explanations on how it should be played. I think this should be the basics. And then, of course, there are more elaborate materials, more complicated textbooks. But I think an important part of endgame knowledge is studying the classics the proper way. And unfortunately, too few young Singaporeans do that.
So interesting that you mentioned about Capablanca, which I think is established as one of the best endgame players of all time. So how much Capablanca do you study back in the days?
Back in the days, let's say, I have this interesting experience in Eastern Europe where they were shifting you from category second players to category first players in these pioneer palaces, let's say. And one of the tests was Capablanca against Taftakova, this famous 1924 endgame. And if you didn't know that the famous endgame with King G3, King H4, King G5, King F6, they simply demote you, they shift you back to several categories. So I think in Eastern Europe, they start with the endgame, like from very young. Basically you don't do much openings, you just do basic classic endgames. And we have done quite a bit of Capablanca, a bit of Rubinstein, a bit of Petrosian, a bit of not so much I would say, in terms of theoretical endgames. How do you win 4 pawns against 3? But mostly about principles and how exactly the game is converted when you have an advantage in a certain type of game. And of course, there is another discussion that one might have: is it relevant in today's age to go back to the old books or to the old guidelines of playing in the endgame stage? But in my view, it's still relevant and helpful.
So
Um,
basically reinforcing what we have been saying, which is to read more books or follow Liang's games, because I think uh, he is a great endgame player. I think he said many things about certain positions which just he could find the essence of an endgame a lot faster than many of us. And I'm saying about that even at this point when I may be a grandmaster, but when it comes to the end game, Liang is still in a class of his own. Yep.
yeah,
Shall we move on to the next game, which looks like a French defense against Stay at Home 2020, an excellent hander.
excellent.
So let's look at it. Yeah, the French. Yeah, bishop g5, bishop e7. I have a few things to say about this position in general. Of course, being a predominantly French defense player all my life, the most competitive move is bishop to b4, which normally ends up with in the flurry of tactics from the onset. And but Liang doesn't like this sort of chess. He likes to play slow positional type of games where he may be a little bit worse, but he can exhibit his Tahan skills. So black goes bishop e7. Yeah, by the way, Tahan is a kind of a commonly used term in Singapore to mean to defend or to hold, which Liang is quite widely known for. So bishop e7, e5, knight f d7, bishop takes e7. I think h4 is sort of the most aggressive line, and with the idea bishop g5, hg5, queen takes g5, and now white goes queen to d3.
Yeah, I think h4 was a good choice against Liang in this Simul.
Yep, to kind of put him under immediate and direct pressure. I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I played this many times with white as well. He goes, yeah, and eventually I want to bring a knight to f4. I castle queen side, and then I apply pressure on the king side. Sorry, somebody is challenging me on the chat. I need to get rid of the yeah. So bishop e7 is of course also a very playable move. After f4, a6, knight f3, c5, queen to d2. Yeah, I think that black should have gone c5, c4. And maybe not at this point. Maybe we should wait for white to castle long first. Because what I was trying to say is if black goes knight c6 and white goes long castle, c4 will give rise to more or less a winning attack, because it's extremely hard to defend against this sort of black's approach to launching his queenside pawns forward. But if you push c4 a bit too early, white would go bishop e2 and switch plans with short castle. So after knight c6, white correctly takes on c5 at this juncture. Knight takes c5, bishop to d3, pawn to b5, knight to e2, very sensibly maneuvering his knight now to the ideal d4 square. Bishop b7, white castle short, and g6, which is I would say surprising move. I think typically they would go something like short castle and followed by f7, f6 to try to get some counterplay in the center.
Wei Ming, can I just add a point here that I think g6 is so characteristic of another trait of Liang's, which is what we call ugly chess, right? So he likes to break rules in chess, and of course, one of the rules we learn right from young is never put your pawns in the same square as the bishop. And with the move g6, as you can poetically see, that's the last pawn that then goes on the same color square as his bad bishop. And it tends to lead to overconfidence by the opponent, thinking, well, this guy simply doesn't understand positional chess whatsoever. And then they tend to get complacent. And that's when the flurry of tactics will take them out very quickly. And they start to contemplate the idea of quitting chess after that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think g6 is quite counterintuitive, to be honest. Now the bishop is still on b7. There are some hopes of maybe eventually playing d5 d4, opening up the long diagonal, but it is not something that can be easily engineered at this point. For example, white continue with c3, more or less stopping d5 d4 unless played as a pawn sacrifice. And after castles, knight d4 b4, rook f c1, rook f c8. There is going to be some action on the queen side. I suppose black is going to follow up with a5, maybe a4, maybe bishop a6, and yeah, with just complex play. I think the whole point of playing g7 g6 is to stop any kind of attack with f4 to f5 in the near future. But yeah, an overzealous player might actually do something like f5 now, thinking that the prospect of playing queen h6 and knight to g5 is quite attractive. But in most cases, these sort of pawn sacrifices wouldn't work, especially against L. For example, I could play g takes f5. Okay, let's say queen to h6. I can go queen to f8, and black is doing all right.
Wei Ming, I think Terry may be trying to get into the Zoom call.
Excellent. Let me just admit him.
If you don't mind letting it in, the
Great.
comments will take a totally new level with his mastery of the English language.
The very flamboyant international master Terry To is with us, but I'm not seeing a microphone next to it. Terry, you need to. Yeah, Terry, I think is live. You should.
And we need to see Terry's face because the facial expressions add a lot to the interpretation of what he's saying.
Yeah, hello Terry, welcome to the stream. Terry, your webcam is
Hi.
not quite working. Yeah. Hi Terry, big welcome.
Where's your video, Terry?
International Master Terry To, also one of our ex, the national player, a great player back in those days when I was growing up.
I have to hide my face.
And why is that so?
But I'm in the presence of a legendary player. I'm in the presence of a legendary player. I do not dare to show my face.
Yep. Just interrupting you for a moment. I think here is where we now come to see how tactics can suddenly burst into play. So black continue with rook f c8, white plays knight takes c6, and if now black plays bishop c6, white could easily fall into the trap. C takes b4, thinking that he has just won a pawn. But after knight takes d3, queen takes d3, bishop b5, he realizes that he has, like many of us, fallen into a tactical frenzy and ends up in a lost position. So this is something that white should be careful of. But the other thing is that if you cannot take on b4, then black just has a fine position. He goes a5, and the bishop retreats to d7, and he's doing okay. White probably should now play knight to d4. Yeah, maybe now b takes c3 is more or less forced, or maybe a5. It's hard to say, but yeah, we will make sure that this is we'll follow this later on.
Yeah, let's move to the next one.
Yep. Any particular position where it's interesting that we can jump straight
I
to?
think the very next game looks very curious.
Yes, that's a signature line that L often plays against the Benoni,
Yeah, which
where it tempts you to sack on e4, get the piece back, but then his pieces, especially that bishop and e3, is another very signature thing that L really likes, and that bishop can turn out to be stopping a lot of the counterplay.
yeah, this is a signature line that White plays, and it's kind of one of the most critical approaches against the Benoni. So after castles, he goes bishop e3, which was played once I think by Vasilin Supalov against Vasily Ivanchuk. And the point is after bishop d3, black has the kind of well-known equalizing tactical motive b7 b5, and after bishop takes b5, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen a5 check, knight fd2, queen takes b5, knight takes d6, queen to a6, and now knight to c4. Black goes, I believe, knight to d7, and eventually knight d7 to e5, exchanging the knights and winning the d5 pawn once he manages to bring his piece into the center. So this is kind of a very well-known line that is known to give black equality with some precision. And bishop e3 is a very interesting idea that kind of preempts against this. So he goes knight to d2, reinforcing the e4 pawn, and then suddenly the idea of b7 b5 does not work so well. Yeah, black continued with rook e8, knight d2, a6, a4, and now knight takes e4, which is another very standard motif, exploiting the fact that all these pieces are lined up in the center of the board, and the rook on e8 is exerting strong pressure down the e file. White goes bishop e2, f e4, castles knight d7, queen c2, queen h4, defending the e4 pawn, and now knight to c4, which in general is a great square for the knight in these Benoni structures, because it puts pressure on the d6 pawn, and also when white eventually plays a4 a5, it's just that much harder to push b7 b5, which is the standard pawn break for black. So what do you think of this position, Terry? I'm not sure if you are familiar with the Benoni, but you are quite a dynamic player. Not quite a formal attacking player, but still very dynamic. So how do you find these positions? Terry, are you there?
Yes, I think it's quite dynamically balanced. I would take this as black against anyone except L. It's
I think the immediate pressure on d6 is quite unpleasant now, to be honest.
Yeah, like bishop f4, for example, now.
Bishop f4? Now it's black's move.
After queen e7.
Queen e7,
Hey,
bishop
play
f4.
queen e7, right? And then bishop f4.
Knight d5.
Knight e5, then... I don't know if you can even...
Knight
well,
e-
taking on e4 looks dangerous because of bishop f5, but...
Yeah. Yeah, queen e7 probably should be played. And maybe what...
maybe... It is possible, bishop f4, knight e5, knight b6 maybe, and then chop the bishop and then take on e4.
Rook to b8. Knight takes c8. Maybe rook f c8, I think. Sorry, rook e c8, queen to e4, and now b5. It feels like black is doing quite okay.
Yeah, it's enough compensation.
Yeah, and I mean the g7 bishop is a monstrous piece, and often, very often, the bishop pair in this particular instance may not matter that much. But here white has bishop g4, which changes everything. On move 21, if white goes bishop g4 now and bishop followed by bishop e6, yeah, this changes everything, because the bishop on e6 will just be a really painful thorn in black's throat, and then white can consider trying to launch his H pawn up, which is another signature Liang motif of pushing the H pawn in attacking inclined positions.
Yeah, we call it the host pawn.
The host pawn.
The host pawn. Yeah.
Why take
Hey
the bishop on
Terry,
c8?
we're seeing like maybe 2/3 of your face, Terry. Yeah, you need to stick the neck up a bit more.
Hey, Wei Ming, what do you think of knight to e5 and bishop takes h3? Would some adventurous players try something like that?
After knight c4, queen e7, or on move 16?
Yeah, the position that's on the screen, because I suppose white has the structural advantages, right? So black has to try some sort of attack on the king side.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. After knight takes d6, Terry, who is very well known for his attacking instincts and creativity, bishop takes h3. Suggested bishop takes h3 with
Okay,
an utter mess.
I take on e8.
Knight takes e8, and
Rook takes e8.
rook takes e8. Yeah.
Calmly.
And I take on h3. I want to get checkmated. Let's see if I succeed.
Let's go queen takes h3, threatening knight f3. There's queen takes
Yes.
e4. There's queen takes
Takes
e4 though.
e4.
Yeah, queen takes e4
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, queen e4. So
Kind
maybe
of.
instead of bishop h3, we should go knight f3 first. How about that?
Yeah. Also, Olympio is kind of a fan of this sort of chess.
I like this stuff.
Yeah.
Dangerous attacking player, Olympio.
This knight f3 looks appealing.
Yeah. G takes f3. Maybe queen h3 is even possible because of the idea of playing bishop e5. Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
really want
Terry is
to.
correct.
Yeah, you don't want to help
This
white.
kind of knight d5.
Yeah, you don't want
Sorry,
to help.
this kind of knight d5 move. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very fair point. And quite typical of the Bernoni style of play. Intuitively, I feel that white should be able to defend this, but
But in a Simul against 15 others,
you need to be you need to be precise.
But this is how international master Su Liang usually wins.
yeah, true.
You think
Yeah,
you have an
Erkan, I
attack,
believe you have used that logic against Liang before when he has like less time against you, and you've seen the result.
yes.
Okay, let's go gf3, and if you go, how do you defend this? Because now I may go f3 to f4, and then f2
Okay,
to
I
f3,
just take on f3,
bishop f3.
bishop f3, and then rook e3.
Whoa, but rook e3 will help me a lot.
Queen
because,
is defending the second rank. Yeah?
yeah, now my queen will help to.
Yes.
Then I pick up the knight, yeah? I give the check and I pick up the knight, and I have two bishops. Should be quite fun.
Bishop g4 and the two bishops are gone, unfortunately for you. But you do have some fair compensation in the form of the dark square bishop. Eventually it comes to e5, and white has equal pawns, so materially white is still ahead. Yeah, this is an unclear
Yeah.
position, but I think white should be doing quite well here. Yep. Okay, we'll keep a lookout for this one. Let's look at the other games.
Can I just draw the attention to there's this London system game. Where was it? I think it is the one against KTYM.
Yeah, KTYM
Where
is a very familiar
Oh,
name.
is he a,
Yeah.
yeah, I've just seen Liang play this opening trap way too many times, where he plays the queen on b6, he pushes c4, hits the bishop, and then he chops the b2 pawn. I've seen him play it in blitz easily, like I don't know, countless times. So this is again that same pawn structure where he plays g6, which really like raising a
Yeah.
red flag against any attacking player, and then he just chops all your queenside pawns. And uh, I I would favor Liang in this position as well.
No, I fell into this. I lost I lost like this many times myself when I was trying to study the London. So KTYM is Megan Kwok. I think she is our current national age group under 18 champion for girls. So yeah, jumping straight into the opening. Yeah, Bishop D3 is the traditional way of playing the London. Magnus kind of popularized Bishop B5 a few years ago, but since then, after I think after Rook to E8, I think is this position. After castles, and followed by I think Bishop E7, the kind of strange a maneuver, I believe equalizes for black now. So Bishop D3 is still considered the most critical approach. Black goes Rook to E8. I think with the idea of trying to push E6, E5, knight E5 is kind of thematic. I think instead of Rook E8, the B6 is sort of the main line. But Rook E8 has been played many times as well. White goes knight E5, Bishop E5, D E5, knight D7. So here it's very important to play knight to F3. And F4 is sort of the move that is very attractive because White eventually castles short. There are some dreams of making a rook leave and maybe F4 to F5, opening up the F file. And after C4, Bishop C2, Queen to B6, this double attack normally comes as a very unpleasant surprise, and it was to me because I did lose a couple of games like this against Liang on the Lee chess server. So this is a very very typical trap that I think
Yeah.
Liang sort of
Uh,
invented, I think.
So Wei Ming, may I just add, if it was a game over the board, after he plays C4, he will flash you his signature smile. Signature smile, like, aha, got you, right? And that smile is crushing. The psychological effect of seeing that smile often is enough for you to blunder a few more times after that. Terry, have you experienced that before?
Yes, I think the game is still playable, but psychologically, you are dead. You might as well resign.
Would you then consider maybe even quitting chess?
Many times.
Yeah, this is we are kind of
Okay.
we don't want to
Is it
encourage.
really that bad?
No, this is not so bad
it-
at all. This is not so bad
It's
at
not
all.
so bad, yeah?
Yeah, but
Practical chances here.
there are some chances because eventually if White goes manages to get his bishop to F6 and maybe Queen E1, Queen H4, Queen H6. But I know for a fact that these attacks normally don't work. Black generally will find some good ways to defend here, but it requires some precision. But Liang has hundreds of hours in this of training in these lines on the Lee chess server. So I should add that even though Liang has not been playing chess publicly for the last I think 20 years, 20 over years, but he is very active on the Lee chess server, and you'll see him online quite often. So give him a follow and challenge him, and who knows, you might get lucky and he might agree to play with you. Yeah, Andrei Tarakov, the Russian steamroller, is saying that the C8 bishop is horrible, and I tend to agree, but Liang will say that a pawn is a pawn, and I'll check. Eventually, I'll end up with an extra queen anyway.
Liang
So-
says that.
Not
That a pawn is an eventual queen. Okay, that's an interesting quote.
I just made it up on the spot, but okay. I see a game where against Amos E, that's the on the last row.
Is that the famous Amos Yee that used to post all sorts of interesting stuff on the
I
internet?
highly doubt so. I highly doubt so.
No.
I have a bunch of stories about that.
Yeah, he can, he can join the chat. I will welcome him here.
So
Apparently he's
interesting that he.
Amos Lee. Sorry, he's Amos Lee, not Amos
Amos
E.
Yee.
So
Hmm. It's interesting that Liang didn't play the obvious queen takes g6 check. Instead, he played f4, which is yet another typical intermezzo by Liang. Probably with the bishop moving, then knight takes f6.
yeah, I wouldn't comment too much about the opening because it feels like both sides have just made the logical moves, positionally well founded moves, except I think on move 13, I think b5 was a step in the wrong direction. Generally, b5 is a move that you want to play, but not in this instance because after a takes b6, it's quite possible that black overlooked that a takes b6 is not quite playable in this position because the a rook will be hanging. So he was forced to play knight takes b6, and this damaged pawn structure on the queen side would be very difficult to defend with. So after bishop a6, a very nice move, trying to change the light square bishops. I would think that black should have gone bishop to e6 here to try to keep control over the c4 square. Generally, when black has a backward isolated pawn on c6, you want to put something on c5 and or even c4 to try to block it and keep it as a weakness for as long as possible. So I think bishop e6 kind of makes sense now, and then black can regroup with knight f7 and bishop to f8, and think of maybe even putting a piece of his own on c5. Bishop takes a6 is certainly a positioner inaccuracy because now after rook takes a6, he helps white in his plans on doubling on the a file. Yeah, this position looks very unpleasant, and I would say that it's positionally lost. After rook e d8, rook fa1, queen b7, knight takes e5, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop e5. Bishop h6, white has won a valuable pawn on the king side, and while keeping all his positional trumps on the queen side. And normally, yeah, this position will be converted quite smoothly by Liang. Bishop g5, f6, bishop e3, knight takes e3, queen e3, queen takes b2, queen h6, and now rook a7 is in the offering. f4 is in the offering because the f6 pawn is weak. There are no good squares for the bishop to retreat to without losing its ability to defend it. So after queen b7, f4 as played, yeah, feels like the game will be over in a few more moves, resulting in checkmate or the loss of serious material. Because knight takes
Yeah,
f6
looks like a slaughter, right? Queen
followed by
takes
queen
g6,
h7.
queen takes f6, knight maybe goes to g5, and,
Yeah,
or
actually,
even the other rook takes c6 and then comes into the attack as well.
actually, knight takes f6 would be a bit more efficient because king has to come to f7 and then queen h7 wins the queen at the end. So this looks like it's over, and I think you can trace the error back all the way back to move 13 with the move b7 b5, which was the starting point of all his issues in the game.
Mm.
So let's try to cover a few more games. No, I see that Liam has lost one. How did that happen?
Wow, where?
On
Which game?
the homepage, it says that he has lost
Oh no, he blundered his a piece.
against Stay at Home 2020. So what happened there? Against Po Yutian. So we last covered the game after the move before rook ac1.
I think it might have been a mouse slip because after knight takes b5, he played a5, which doesn't make any sense at all.
Or did he give chance?
Yeah,
It's common for L to give chance, right?
yeah, because actually after bishop b5, knight takes b5, a takes b5, black is doing very fine because the a2 pawn is under tremendous pressure. there's no good way to defend it. And if, for example, you go rook a1, and now b takes c3, and the c3 pawn becomes very weak. So
No. Rook a1. There's the Liang dirt. Queen a7 check. That's what he likes to set up, followed by rook takes a1. It's a
No.
classic
No,
Liang dirt.
I meant after move 20, a takes b5. White could defend a2, let's say with the ugly move like rook a1.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, but I see your point. I
But-
see your point. For example,
Yeah.
queen b5, rook a2, rook a1 would be a
Yeah.
disaster because of queen a7 check.
That's
Yeah.
that's just that Liang is just setting this up, just waiting for the natural rook a1 move, and then he'll flash you that smile.
Yeah, after a takes b5, black is doing very well. Yeah, unfortunately a5 happened and the game was over. So I think when such things happen, yeah, that in the Simul, the Lichess server does not allow for takebacks. So there's no reasonable way to try to recapture the b5 knight without doing some extremely strange move. So
But you know that Liang will never take back a move.
yeah, he will just resign in
Yeah, and he'll say,
good game.
He'll say, just
Yeah,
he
he say
was
good
weak.
game. Yeah.
In fact, may I recall a Facebook chess game where he allowed his opponent to take back 3 times, and he still won the game. That was truly extraordinary.
Was it a weak opponent?
No, not at all.
Can
One
we
of
have a
the
look at
former
this?
top players in Singapore.
Yeah.
Can we have a look at this game against Sleep Score? I think it's a beautiful display of what we just talked about.
Sleep score. That's against the where is this guy? Sleep
It's on the
Second
second
row, the
row.
last one.
Second
I
row
see.
to last one.
against Cheng Xiuyi.
It's a beautiful display of defensive acumen here. I'm not sure if you will survive this, but it looks very fun.
So Goose Feathers just sent me a message to ask me not to stay up so late. I'm not sure what's happening because she's supposed to be playing the game. So. Anyways, yeah, B3 is definitely something that is a step in the wrong direction, and once again, Liang plays very similar lines to me, or maybe I should say, yeah, I should put it the other way around. I play very similar lines to Liang in the French defense. B3 normally they go castles. I know a bit about this position, of course, and yeah, I think he sort of okay. Sorry, I need to go back to move 4 and pardon my elaborate explanation about this position. I think after bishop d3, the most accurate move actually is to go c5 and not knight to f6. And because we compare this with, let's say on move 3, black goes knight to f6, white goes e5, knight to d7, bishop d3, c5, c3, knight c6, knight e2. And you can see that when you compare that position with this one, black has gone bishop e6, bishop e7, which is not normally played in this position. They go c takes d4, c d4, f6, ef6, knight to f6, knight to f3. Black goes queen c7 followed by bishop d6 instead of bishop to e7. So that's move 3, knight f6. And now doing a quick comparison with this position, after move 7, knight c6, you can see that instead of c takes d4, black has gone bishop e7, which is something which was played but not really all that often. But Liang likes to go his own way, especially in the opening, so who am I to comment? After b3, c4, c4, castles, a5, knight to f3, knight to b4, bishop to b1. White has a small advantage, but it's not all that serious. Yeah, and here knight to a6 is another typical ugly move that Liang likes. Can any of you try to figure out the point of this move? Because I'm really struggling over here.
I think most of us have given up trying to second guess the superior brain. So we just look at the end result and we admire the beauty.
Yeah, knight a6 is really kind of bizarre, if I may say.
Where's,
Because
where do you think the knight is going to?
maybe c7, but what do you want to do there? Maybe b5,
Maybe
b4?
b8. Knight back to b8, just to show that I can give you 5 moves and still win.
That's a nice roundabout, yeah, on the chessboard.
Yeah, I believe, was it Magnus Carlsen who played this in Bullet a few times? Knight f3, g1, f3, g1, f3, g1, and then he still won the game.
Yeah, probably taking a page out of L's recipe. But normally,
The world champion learned from the legend?
yeah, probably. I think normally in this sort of position, white goes knight to f4, and they go h4 and bring the queen into the attack, and normally you don't get away with liberties like this. So anyway, let's move on to the game. Yeah, a3 was not so necessary. I think knight to f4 is more serious here. a3, b6, queen to d3, g6. Once again, we see that he set up this light square pawn formation, making his bishop even worse than it already is. But the c8 bishop will come out to a6 eventually. So this is just an illusion. Bishop h6, rook to e8, knight to f4. Yeah, this position looks extremely dangerous for black. To be honest with you, now the idea of going h4 to h5, putting pressure on the kingside structure would normally lead to mate. So I'm curious to see how this ended up the way it ended up. Knight c7, rook e1, bishop a6, queen to c2, rook to c8. So black is getting a lot of tempo gain against the white queen. Rook to c1, so you can see another loss of tempo because white went rook e1 followed by rook to c1. Knight to b5, queen to b2. Rook takes c1, queen c1, queen a8. Yeah, queen a8 followed by rook to c8. So the point is of this elaborate maneuver is to put the knight on b5, keeping an eye on c3 and a3. A very deep plan. White goes a4, rook to c8, queen d2, and now knight c3. And now we see the point of this elaborate maneuver. And the whole point is to bring the knight to c3, where he can maybe jump to the e4 square, throwing a spanner in white's works on the king side. Because the light square bishop in this sort of pawn structure is the most important piece on the board in many cases. Now white goes bishop d3 and bishop b4 played. Yeah, I quite like black's position now. I'm assuming that the light square bishops will be traded off, and black even arguably has the better pawn formation because his bishop is now on the opposite color of his of the majority of his pawns. So yeah, this is another display of making kind of ugly moves on the surface, but actually there are some positional motives behind these moves. H3 played. Yeah, black is fine here. I wouldn't say that white is losing or anything like that, but for the time being, I think the attack is not as straightforward as I claim it was. I think that making a move like, I would say that the mistake came around move 13. I think a3 was not necessary at this point. I think he should get on with it with knight to f4 and maybe h4, sacrificing the pawn in some cases. Okay, let's go back to the game.
But
yeah.
Yeah, instead of h3, how about if we go knight g5? I mean, it looks very threatening. Yeah, bishop b4, knight g5.
Yeah, and if bishop d3, you go queen to d3 and maybe swing the queen to h3 or f3.
Yeah.
So
probably black is fine, but it looks very dangerous.
No, yeah, I would change pieces with knight to e4, attacking the queen. Yeah. On move 25. Yeah, instead of h3, white goes knight g5. And also there's the interesting idea of playing knight to b1. sort of establishing some back rank issues on in White's camp.
Yeah, which is probably why he played h3.
Yep, to get out of it. Yeah, there's already a good chance that White might blunder here. For instance, with Queen e3 and now Bishop d2 wins, I think. And followed by Rook to c1. Yeah, Knight b1 would definitely be played by Liang if he gets into this position. White has to go Queen to d1, and then he can repeat the position with Knight c3. Yeah, and then see how things go.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a complicated position, to say the least. Yeah, there's some bizarre comments on the on the chat that I don't quite fully understand. So so it's I'm not really forgive me if I appear to be ignoring your comments, but I just do not quite know what to make out of this. Yep. Now the light square bishops are exchanged, and yeah, black will continue with rook to c3 followed by queen to c6 with great control over the c file. On the other hand, his king is kind of stuck on the g8 square for the time being. So complicated position, that's for sure. Any other games that you guys want to check out? On my end, I'm trying to get Professor Li Wangshen onto the stream. Why not have the whole gang online? Yeah, if Wangshen, if you're watching this, join the stream. Wangshen was, I think he finished second in the Asian Juniors Championships all those years ago. He's now based in Australia as an economic professor. It would be great for him to join us. He will have his own fair share of stories on L. Yeah, I see a game against Danesh.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a typical case. What happens when you give him 3 pounds?
he will take everything, right? Yeah,
Yep.
this position looks
Take
lost.
everything. You should have at least played bishop f2.
Yeah,
But now it's
a3.
just a queen.
Yeah, a3 is kind of strange, I think, on move 4. Yeah, this is okay, now it's not that strange anymore.
Can I request, Wei Ming, can I request a study that we take note of the players who played this Simul, and then revisit them maybe a year later and see how many people are still playing chess?
Yeah, I'll ask the production team, my tournament director to keep track of these things, and
Or whether
But
indeed
this-
they went on to very successful careers by concentrating the efforts somewhere else.
yeah, I just want to clarify that we are not encouraging anyone to quit chess, but this is the sort of effect that many of us have felt over the last few years when we were young. Yeah, bishop c5, bishop c4, b5, bishop e2, bishop b7. Yeah, this position is quite comfortable for black from the opening. Queen to b6, castles. Yeah, losing the e4 pawn was definitely not was not one of White's preferred
Yeah,
ideas.
but it's very cute how White tries to create an attack after this. It reminds me of a comment I've read for a 1960s Singaporean player he had this reputation for being very solid. They said that it was like throwing stones at the Fullerton building. So this game feels a bit just like that.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Yeah, now the counter attack comes. After knight to d4, queen to g4, f5. The queen gets kicked around. He lost a piece with bishop h5. Yeah, and yeah, now he has lost his queen, and the game is over soon.
Yeah, may I just add that he made a cardinal sin against Liang by putting his bishop on h4. Liang doesn't like it when other people do that. It's his signature move, and he makes it a point to punish people who try and play that against him.
Yeah, for those who
Yeah.
find this a bit bizarre to understand, it's not surprising because it's kind of an inside joke and it's going to take too long to even explain this in detail.
I thought Terry was going to explain it at some point, but
No, I think Wang Shen would be a best person to explain this, but he's, he's not he's not
oh,
he's
is
not
that
here.
why you want him on the screen?
Yeah,
Just for
but
one story?
that's a bit too much to ask for from Wang Shen, I think. uh,
I look at that bishop on h4, man. I mean, it's so miserable.
yeah, KTYM also has a bishop on h4 a bit, and she's in trouble as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
they don't understand.
Amos Lee is going to get mated soon with your idea of bringing the rook to g6.
Yes.
Somebody is commenting that 1e4 is his signature move to resign, but that's what you do against Li Yang. You don't resign against anyone else that quick. Yep. Let's check out some other games. This interesting game against SSL 2020. SSL 2020. Let me just check who. Yeah, Sun Shilian, who will be playing for the Singapore team in the upcoming Singapore versus Kazakhstan match on the 3rd of May. Is taking the black pieces in this one. That's the last game on the screen. If you guys are following. So d4 played, knight f6, c4 g6, knight c3, bishop g7, the King's Indian defense, and
Disappointing.
what do you mean?
I mean, black has a chance here to go for knight c6 against Su Liang, of all people. And she went, I think, knight b7.
Yeah, Liang is extremely strong. I mean, he's very strong in almost all situations. But against the King's Indian, we all know that this is one opening that we don't want to play against him. He makes a huge plus score with the white pieces, and even without the any sort of theoretical updates over the last 20 years of inactivity, he still plays against this opening very well. So it'll be
Wei
good.
Ming, is bishop e3 one of his signature moves in these positions against the Indian defenses?
Yeah, definitely, and I am a huge victim against his bishop e3 inclinations. For example, against the Grunfeld, he plays the bishop e3 line, and which is sort of
We saw it against Benoni earlier, yeah.
yeah, we saw it against the Benoni. Now we're seeing it against the King's Indian. I can share my own miserable encounters with him. That I lost many games against him in Blitz. In these bishop e3 lines in the Grunfeld, which is kind of giving it away. Because then people will start playing bishop e3 against me, but I'm hoping that nobody can place it quite like L. So there you go. Yeah, rook e8, rook f1, b6. Yeah, b6 is not a typical a move that's played normally in these lines. I think Olympio is an expert in the King's Indian. I think Chongi as well. I think all three of you play the King's
Yep.
Indian, yeah.
Yeah, true.
So
Yes.
No, I think for this particular Simul, a very sharp line like knight c6, e5 or knight c6 was
Yep.
a better choice.
Yep, going as direct as you can and forcing Liang to find defensive moves, which he would which we would do, but probably at the expense of some time spent, would be a very sensible approach. Yeah, now this is just a
Otherwise,
position. Yeah, this is a positional squeeze.
exactly.
Yeah, the d5 square is under lock and key. Black has no useful way of trying to bring the knight to the d4 square. Okay, he can go knight to f8 to e6 maybe. That could be a sensible plan. And then
Yeah.
followed by putting the knight to d4. Yeah, someone's asking me about my background. It's nothing interesting, and I think it's just my room, so that's not much to share there. Yeah, this position is still very complex. I think what is a bit better, but there's still a lot of chess to be played. The dark squares especially would be a a source of concern for white here. I would go knight f d7, knight f8, knight to e6 at some point. It's kind of a slowish, but if you do get a piece on d4, I think white will be in some trouble at least. On the other hand, white gets to go knight to d5, but I would imagine the effects on black's position would be slightly less severe as compared to the other way around. So this is something to keep a lookout for. A tough fight is going to be in progress. Megan is in some time trouble. She has 3 minutes left. The time control, which is something I should have shared at the start of the stream, is that the players has, I think, 25 plus 15, I think, and Liang has 60 minutes more, with increment of 15 seconds per move.
It's going to be a tough fight at the end. There will be some games lost on time again, I believe.
Yeah, somebody is asking whether you want to trade away your bishop pair because the knight is stronger on d5. I think that is a very valid point. I assume that you mean the knight on d4 instead of d5, and whether I would want to take the d5 knight off with my dark square bishop. But on the other hand, black has a strong bishop on g7. He can recapture on d4, and he has one more knight that can get to d4 to the d4 square. So a lot depends on the specifics of the position, I think. I hope that answers your question. Yep, let's go back to the main screen and let's see whether there are any other. Yeah, we see the typical double f pawns that we are used to against Uncle Leo. Uncle Leo Teo the novice, and that's Nailin. I'm not so familiar with Nailin. If anybody can share some of his something about him that I can share on the stream, that would be much appreciated. Yeah, thanks for
I
following.
think in that game, black looks quite alright, even though he's a pawn down. I don't mind playing black.
Yeah, this is a typical Queen's Gambit, the delayed Queen's Gambit, or rather the A6 Queen's Gambit decline that Magnus has been playing quite often in Rapid and Blitz. Yeah, the opening seems largely normal. Okay, black sacrifices the d5 pawn, and in return wrecking white's kingside. And now Liang has his signature double f pawn, which he has done a few times against me in the Grunfeld positions that I mentioned earlier. Black continue with knight to g5, queen to f5 plate, g6, queen to g4, h5, queen to g3. The queen is making a fair number of moves, being kicked around, but on the other hand, he's still a pawn up, and that's something that you don't want.
We all experience.
Yeah, you get some activity. You're encouraged to attack, but after a few precise moves, the attack dissipates into thin air. So I imagine white would go bishop b3 now, with the idea of playing h4 and followed by queen takes g6. h4, another signature move, yeah. So
yeah, black can play h4 himself though to prevent h4.
Yeah, he can, I think. So the downside to h4 himself is that, yeah. So rook a8, bishop b3, h4, white goes queen to g2, followed by f4, followed by king h2, and he's in great shape. I think white is doing well. I will go rook g1, and the h4 pawn will be a constant worry for black, because it's not all that easy to defend it. The queen has to stay on e7 more or less. Yeah, this position looks great for white now that we have taken a deeper look into this. Yeah, there are also some other ideas of putting the bishop on d5.
Right.
Yep, any comments?
Yeah, Wei Ming, I think I would have played h4 immediately instead of rook ac8.
And
Yeah.
after queen to g2,
Queen to g2. Um,
I still want to go f4. Maybe bishop to e4 now, targeting b7. Maybe king h2 rook g1 is still an idea. Yeah, black needs
Black can
to.
easily prevent the queen g6 idea by moves like, I don't know, king g7, for example. Right?
Yeah, he can. But I do establish quite a fair bit of, I do control quite a number of squares in the center after that. And the king is
Yeah,
quite
it's
safe.
better for white.
Yeah,
Feels better for white.
king is safe
yeah,
on
this is
h2.
better.
Yeah, I'll be very worried if I'm black here, actually. Exactly the type of position that you don't want to get into.
Yeah, against Liang.
Yeah, Erikido
Yeah.
23 is suggesting knight to e6. I can go f4. And again, I don't quite see what black is supposed to do with this idea of playing bishop e4, king to h2, rook to g1, and some attack on the king side.
By the way, I think Liang's going to win his first game. Looks like he has a mate in one against Amos Yi or Amos Lee.
Amos Lee.
If it was Amos Yi, then it'll be a fine punishment. Amos Lee will try harder next time.
Queen g7 played, and yeah, 1-0. So this was
Yay, 1-1. No, it's 1-1. Hey, it's 2-1. It's
the
2-1.
combination
It's
of
one,
the
other game is-
the combination of the attack that we mentioned earlier after f4, bishop c7, queen g6. Yeah, notice how. Yeah, this is quite interesting because knight takes f6 on move 27 would have won a lot faster, but once again we see how knight takes f6, maybe bishop takes f4, and it's not quite mid yet. Okay, well, anything, I mean, I think queen f6 wins as well. Yep.
Wei Ming, can I just point out that if you look at all the positions in general, Liang's pieces are just much better placed than his opponents. And I think that's really one thing that I've always experienced playing Liang, that his piece coordination is really at a different level.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's a fair point. I think there are a couple of things that we can see that firstly, black's pieces are generally well placed. If you look at all the boards, we don't see any wayward pieces on strange squares. They are generally trying to do something in the center. The rooks are on the 7th rank. And the second thing that is quite sparking is also the pawn structures. You can see that with black, in almost all the games with black, his pawn structure is more or less intact. And with the white pieces, there are a couple of occasions where he has doubled pawns, but normally it comes at a price. For instance, for in return for an exchange, an extra pawn or an attack, like against
Can we have a look?
Samuel.
Can we have a look at the game number 5?
That's against Fleming.
Yeah, something is happening here. Quite interesting.
Against Fleming Kimchi. Jonathan
What's that, the
Aoyong.
Benoni game? That's amazing. The Benoni game resulted in a position like this.
Tell me
Yeah,
wow.
superficially it looks like black is doing quite well. We last followed the game about around move 16. Yeah, Terakov hates the dark square, the light square bishop that L is consistently getting, the C8 bad bishop.
Andre is only talking about bishops today.
Yeah.
Also, the last move played was d5, which is a sacrifice of the c5 pawn in order to
Yeah.
presumably push d4. But I'm not sure how he does it because bishop takes c5 and then d4 is met by rook takes e4, right? If d3, then rook is a check.
sorry, I kind of lost you there.
Yeah,
Uh,
d5. This is the moment.
Yeah, move 25, black played d5, and what happens after bishop takes c5?
Yeah, what happens after bishop takes c5? It's not obvious to me that black has a lot.
And yeah, I'm trying to make a case for queen takes c5, but the pawn d4 is d5 to d4 looks a bit dangerous for white now, because black has the additional idea of playing rook d8 to d5.
But just bishop c5 and it's not obvious what black is intending.
Yeah, somebody's asking you what you're drinking, Chongi. I think they want some of that wine that you're having, but
Oh, I had a glass with my lunch and I got a bit thirsty. That's why I switched off the video for a while to pour myself a second glass. It's red wine.
yeah, probably bishop takes c4 has to be played, and yeah, and if black goes, yeah, d4 is not quite playable because of rook takes e4, as I think someone mentioned. Yeah, so what happens after bishop takes c5? And
We'll find out. Just play bishop takes c5. Exactly.
yeah, the pawn on c6 is extremely strong. I mean, if you replace the c6 pawn, with a black pawn, then black is obviously doing very well. But with this pass pawn on c6 and the fact that we have equal material, the bishop pair seems to be working well here. Yeah, Andre is pointing out that rook to d5 is not an immediate threat for the time being, so he could go bishop g5 due to the fact that the rook d5 could be met by bishop c4. So that's a very fair point that I missed. Good catch there. But yeah, if that's the case, then bishop g5, queen takes c5 also looks very, very plausible. After d4, bishop g5, rook to c8. I don't see any other good squares. Rook to e5, bishop takes d8 is a nice intermezzo.
Liang is famous for such intermezzos.
I think when he rewatches the stream, we will have the answer to many things. But anyways, coming back to the game, after bishop g5, rook to c8, not a move that black wants to make, but there's no choice, I think. Yeah, this position actually is still not that clear. Rook to e5 is now a legitimate idea, attacking the g5 bishop and the
Can
c5
I suggest
queen.
a move in this position? Bishop h4. Bishop h4.
I was
I
thinking
think
that
Liang will play a move like that.
yeah, I was wondering whether you're going to suggest this. But how do you meet this
Yeah.
rook to e5? And the bishop is
Well, it's white's move, right? So
yeah, bishop
rook
h4,
c just plays bishop h4. So rook
rook
c5,
e5.
then e5, then maybe play the queen back to c1, perhaps.
No, the b5 bishop is
The
hanging.
bishop is hanging. The bishop is
Yeah,
hanging, right?
so
you have to
maybe
play probably.
bishop a6. How is bishop a6? But
Queen
rook
c6.
rook a8. No, rook a8 is yeah. This is
Or just queen c6.
yeah. I think one of you is watching the stream, and I can hear myself echoing away. So if you could mute the sound in the stream, that would be good. yeah, rook e5, bishop a6, rook a8. It looks like black is even winning here. Bishop c4 check, king h8, and again there's no good square for the queen to retreat to. Yeah, so this is not trivial after rook c8.
It's not good.
Yeah, rook to e5 looks like a very, very serious threat.
Yeah, we see again the same team. They are giving away pawns for very, very little, and that's dangerous against a player like him.
Yeah,
Can I draw our attention to game 2, because I think that one is going to be interesting. Sai said somehow managed to survive both the opening and the middle game into an equal material ending.
Zai
But the game 2.
Zai seed, yeah.
Yeah, so but I think this one will show truly Liang style maybe above all the other games. Because this ending maybe a small advantage to White, but he's gonna be able to make something out of it.
Yeah. So many pieces were exchanged off. Yeah,
But
on move 18, I quite like rook to c6. But it gives up the d5, the d file completely, so maybe it's not working due to concrete reasons. I really want to play rook c6 here, but on move 18,
yeah,
yeah, but I'm not sure what I missed. Maybe rook d1, queen d1, rook to d8, queen to c2, and queen to d7 will give some problems for white.
or I can play queen e4 also
Yeah, the very
instead
nice.
of queen d7.
Yeah, queen e4. I go h3, h3, and it feels
Yeah.
like this knight on b7 is bad, and the rook on c6 is putting pressure on these pawns. Not so easy,
But
not so easy.
I could take on c2 and play c5. I think I'm okay there, right?
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, that's a good one. I think after c5, black should be fine. Which is kind of what eventually happened in the game. Uh, knight d4, c5, knight to c6, rook d1, comes with check, or else white will play knight takes e7, queen takes d1, queen e6. Yeah, this knight is having some problems. Yeah, so Liang decided to get rid of this issue with queen to d5, a very aesthetically pleasing move, putting the queen completely free on the d5 square. But after queen takes d5, knight e7, winning the queen back, and now the knight is in a far better zone as compared to c6. How's the doctor doing on time? I think that's a very fair question. Yeah, this position is very unclear. I think the ending looks. I would think white
Yeah,
is.
anything can happen.
Yeah, I feel like white is better here, just because black's queenside pawns are a bit too advanced, and it allows white's king to penetrate a bit easier. Black's king is on h8, is far from the action, so I feel like white is doing very fine here. If I could get
Yeah,
in,
this is a good game.
yeah, we should keep an eye on this one. He has 10 minutes, so I think let's take a look at the time situation in most of these games. Okay, Liang
Well, yeah,
has
since one more game, he has beaten Goose Feather with checkmate.
Liang has
So
checkmated
that's
Goose Feathers.
3-1.
Yeah, score is currently 3-1 with the one loss happening after the unfortunate mouse slip. So where's the second win that yeah, he has beaten LT2 Adnan.
Does he look to be in trouble in the penultimate game?
Against who's?
Samuel Beckett or something like that. Samuel, he? The game before last. No? I don't
Yeah,
think we ever looked at this.
Samuel Benedict Math. Yeah. So
He looks dangerous.
I'll skip the opening phase. Yeah, White has a great position from the opening, but I think the the current position on the board doesn't quite look that much promising. Yeah, this position is of course great for White. After on move 19, he goes knight to b5 followed by knight to d6. Yeah, this is a
Very
great.
good instinct, h5. You know?
Yeah.
Justified desperation.
Yeah, this is a typical, but it does not work because it's a against Liang, he will just mop it up. Yeah, here I'm not quite sure what why e4 was warranted, because he could have gone, for example, g3 to g4, and there's just no attack. But now after h takes g3, creating the idea of rook h1, this doesn't work either. So that's probably
Bishop h3.
yeah, there's bishop h3, so there's no real attack. So this is another one of the illusions that Li Yang is famous for. E takes d5 plate, and yeah, this position is just completely winning now. There's no rook h1 as much as you would like it to work, because after rook
It's
h1,
nothing but an illusion.
yeah, queen h4, bishop h3, and white is fine, completely winning actually. So we expect a win here. But Liang is doing very well in virtually every single game that we have seen so far. In the game against KTYM, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, as correctly predicted by Chonggi earlier in the stream, you take all the pawns on B2 and A2. And
the game against Uncle Leo got even more interesting, no?
Yeah, now the position kind of
we discussed.
Yeah, bishop b3 played queen to f6. Yeah, f4 I did not quite like, because I would have preferred not to allow knight to e4, so that quite easily. On the other hand, how do you defend f3? Yeah, f4, knight to e4, queen to g2, and there's this idea of playing knight to d2 and changing the bishop for the knight, which is what black wants. Because entering into a rook ending is definitely something that that will be in black's favor, because it increases the chances of a slightly worse rook endgame that is defensible. So I wouldn't allow this knight to e4. Maybe bishop d5 could have been played at this point, defending the f3 pawn and also covering e4, and after that we threaten f3 to f4. Black could give some problems by playing rook to d8, but I could take on b7 maybe. Yeah, but we also have to keep an eye on the b2 pawn. So basically there are a lot of specifics here that we need to work it out, or we need to work out. So anyways,
and the doctor has 7 minutes, so it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, he has to
Very
play
tough.
fast, that's for sure. Yeah, queen takes b7 plate, rook to d8. Yeah, this is an interesting position, that's for sure. After knight to b3, yeah, I'm guessing that after queen takes b3, black will play rook to d2.
Rook d2. Absolutely.
Yeah, this now looks very unclear, and
But rook d2, isn't there isn't there rook c8 followed by queen c3?
Yeah, exchanging.
And then rook takes b2, rook a3, and then okay, one pawn up. It's probably a drawn ending, but with white
Pressing for
trying
the
to
win.
press.
But can we go king h7
Yeah, queen c3
instead of
queen c3 kind of still forces the exchange of queens because of the mating threat on h8.
Yes, and there's no
So-
chance.
So I think what Chonggi was saying, after queen c3, queen takes c3, rook b2, rook to a3, rook to b6, and white is a
And
pawn
then
up.
rook a5, and then king g2, king f3, and so on.
Yeah, rook to a5, and I move my king up. I will need the Russian to comment here, because he will have some Soviet background on
Sorry,
how
what about
rook endings,
what about b takes c3 instead of rook takes c3 just now?
So after queen c3, b takes c3, you are saying?
Yeah.
That's probably a better
then-
winning track because you have different pawns.
So
No, but I will
we
take
just
on a.
liquidate.
I'll take on a2, and then I'll try my best to swap these 2 pawns off. After which it will be a draw. So
A theoretical draw.
it will be a theoretical draw.
Before activities.
Yeah,
What
for
is
example, c4. Let's say rook to c2, and then I just start pushing the pawns, and eventually I'll swap the pawns off, and it looks like this is just a draw. Black played queen h4 in the game.
yeah, which probably is better than rook with d2.
Yeah, queen h4.
Yeah, I think after queen h4, it's over because
Yeah, white goes
just consolidates.
king g2.
Rook d2, rook
rook-
f1.
rook d2, I just go rook f1 and everything is fine.
Is it G5?
G5, I will play something like queen b8. He has 5 minutes though. He has to remember that he has 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, rook
Or
to
even
d2.
play something like queen c3 first and kick the rook, and then the queen can also go to f6, which kind of stops all black's plans, right? After that,
Yeah,
so
queen c3 looks like a very very nice move.
queen c3 then queen f6, then
Followed by
black
queen to
can't
f6.
move anything.
Yeah, this looks quite nice. It's a very good point made by Chongi. After rook to d6, stopping queen f6, I can go queen to e5, attacking this. He goes
okay,
rook,
rook G6.
and now I go f5.
Still a bit unclear, no? Okay, white is much better for sure.
No, this is almost this should be lost, I think.
Rook
Because
G7?
rook g7 f6, and I go queen e8, queen f7.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and this is over. So, yeah, Andre was asking about the rook to c7. Yeah, which of course also
King G2.
yeah makes a lot of sense, and probably is even stronger because now I don't even need to worry about a rook being on the 7th rank for the time being.
Yeah, this puts black on the defensive immediately.
Yeah, rook c7 is very strong. Very very good catch by the Russian FIDE master. Then why is he not even on the stream?
Yeah, what is he doing over there?
Yeah, what is he like? Why are you you should be on the stream.
Sorry, can I draw attention to the game right next to that, sleep score? Because again, I think this is very characteristic of Li Yang's play, where there's exactly equal material, equal pawns, symmetrical pawns, but every single piece of Li Yang's is simply better placed than the opponent's, right?
Yeah.
Especially that monster knight on e4, the rook on c2.
Yeah, I want to point out that Li Yang has won his 4th game, so the current score is 4-1. Yeah, so this is the game that we looked at a bit earlier with this ugly move, knight to a6, g6, the terrible bishop on c8.
And look now.
But now, this is night and day. The bishops are swapped. Yeah, rook c3, queen c6 played as what we mentioned. And this is a slightly better ending for black, in view of the fact that he covers the only open file in the position. White should try to challenge him with rook to c1. Yeah, h4, maybe knight to e2 is in kind of urgent need because he has to play rook to c1 eventually. But the only problem that Li Yang is facing now is his time. He has 3 minutes on this board, so he has to play fast now.
And he has more than 10. He has 10 boards left, which is
He has 10
very
boards
hard
left. This is going to be a race to the end, and I don't envy his task at all. Yeah, I am quite worried about his time situation.
He gets 20 seconds per move.
The time control is 20 seconds per move. 20 plus 20 for the players. 80 plus 20 for the master. So he's actually having a shorter time control against as compared to the previous masters. Yeah, this is very very tough. Yeah, I see there are some games that are pretty much over. For example, against Eng Yao. Eng Yao, let me look for his name. Call Eng Yao. Yeah, this game is more or less over, but he has 2 minutes left. It's tough.
I think it is over. Rook takes rook, queen takes knight check, queen takes g5 check, rook c1 again. I think Liang could win this even with 1 second increments.
Yeah, but that means that he has to kind of focus his efforts here and ignore the other bots. So that's
Oops. No, there's still rook d8.
he's frantically making moves on all the other bots for the time being.
Now queen c7. I'm looking at Uncle Leo. Queen c7 takes, and then takes a6 again. I mean, the position is totally winning, but like you said, it's a time situation.
It's a time issue. It's a time issue.
You think Liang will offer a draw to Uncle Leo?
No draw. No way. I don't think he. we have never he will never offer a draw in this situation despite the time crisis that he's facing.
The second game, that endgame we discussed a few moments ago, got even more interesting. He has played b3, position number 2.
Yep.
He might be in trouble with him.
Yeah, this looks more and more likely to end in the draw under the most ideal, under proper circumstances, because it feels like these pawns will be swapped, and then after which if black manages to swap the knights, it will just be a draw, because 4 against 3, and black will play g5, which is the important move to make in these situations, and any rook ending would be a draw here. It's kind of important to make sure that black has to try to put the pawn on g5, as far as I understand.
Can black play b4 here?
Yeah, b4. Yeah, I see where you are going. Now somebody is still. Can somebody switch off the stream on your end? I can hear my echo. And which means everybody who's watching this is hearing this. Yeah, so I know what the Olympio is up to. I think after b4, knight takes b4, c takes b3 is his idea, and after rook takes c8, b2, and black wins. That's your idea, yeah? After b4.
Yeah, keep it. Okay, and if he takes on c4 after b4,
after
then
takes
I
on
guess
c4.
I'll just
black goes b3.
b3, knight c4. A little bit of interesting play there.
Yeah, I go rook to c3, I guess. They go.
I think it's much.
b2, rook to b3, knight takes c4, king to d4. And like I said, okay, white. It looks likely that white is going to catch the b2 pawn eventually, but even if he does so, if black manages to swap the knights, then he will be fine. You'll be a theoretically drawn ending, anyways. So this looks like it's a bit better for white, but it's not even
1 minute.
Yeah,
wow.
It's impossible to play this position with 1 minute, and with all the other bots on fire as well.
It's gonna be very close.
It's going to be very, very close, that indeed, yeah. And still 10 bots playing. I hope I don't get punished for giving such a time control after this when he joins the stream.
Is L able to meet the time control?
I think Gyeokhok is
unlikely.
Yeah, the game on the last row, I kind of missed this game, but Gyeokhok seems to be winning. Joshua Lim. This is one ending that it feels like Liang is not going to save because it's just one move short. Against JGH Lim, that's Lim Gyeokhok. He used to be a very active player, but now he's in the business of trading, full-time job, and no longer actively playing in tournaments, but he still keeps an eye on events.
I think he played against Magnus Carlsen, no?
Yeah, he played against Magnus in the final, like some of us did. Yeah, after King C3, King E7, Black can resign. I think he should resign this and focus on the other bots. That would be the sensible way of dealing with this. Yeah, so that's a great game played by Gyeokhok. Steinert's French variation. Another bad bishop on c8. Yeah, quite well played actually.
I would also like to see more players resigning if they are completely lost, a few pieces down or something. It's not nice to.
Yeah, to try to win on time, but but
try to.
this happens, and unless we adjudicate the results, uh, psychologically it's just difficult to admit defeat, unless it's under any circumstances.
Sorry, back to the Gyok Hawk game, right? I'm a bit puzzled by move 30, bishop takes c1.
Yeah, so am I. I'm actually
A
right.
simple moves like rook b d7 and
Rook
white
b.
can't really get out of the bind, right?
Yeah,
And
rook.
it's just better for black.
I completely agree. I think after rook bd7, the position looks more or less over actually.
Yeah.
Like, how do you defend against all these threats? So bishop takes c1.
Yeah, because b4 is coming next. Rook's attacked. Rook check, king goes up, and then
Yeah, this looks very difficult for white. Let's say rook to c2, trying to defend the d2 bishop.
because you can even play bishop b4 and it's a permanent bind, right?
Is it? Yeah, seems like it.
Yeah. But this looks very, very good for black. And even the eventual g6, g5, followed by king to g8. King
Can
g7,
I play
king
rook
g6.
c8?
Yeah,
Can
you
I play
can.
rook c8 here?
Okay, I know what
And
I think I know what you
Yeah.
are trying to say after bishop takes b4 and white is even winning. So
Yeah.
but there's
So
no
I
need
have
to
to try to
rush.
look.
Maybe there's no need
King
to.
g7.
Yeah, we go g5. G5 is good, I think. A very typical move to try to break up the pawn center, especially in this Steiner's in the Steiner's variation with f4 e5. You go g5. F takes g5, king. Either you go king g7 or you go bishop b4 now.
So Liang has lost the Yao game on time. Liang has lost
Yeah, we expect to see many losses now. He has lost 6 games.
quite a number.
Yeah, the time control is.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Can it be increased for the next exhibitions?
Yeah, Benedict Cole, I'm going to ban you from the chat. And that's just going to be it. This is completely uncalled for. So guys, please watch your language in the channels, and you should take out your frustrations elsewhere. Yeah. So I'm going to be, for anybody who is going to hurl profanity in the chat, will be. We have to give some form of warning, and please understand that this is a live live stream and public a match. So Uncle Leo won by flagging and he apologized. So
Yeah.
in the chat.
There seems to be a lot of flags. Even that beautiful ending that Liang played against Sleep Score lost of time as well.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but
The Flamingo game is very interesting, but I think he has too little time.
Fleming Kimchi, yeah, Flamingo. Where did Flamingo come from? But
The first row, the last game.
yeah,
You
hi
know,
from
the
Germany.
Benoni, that game.
Thanks for following Dirty Potato. Yeah, we are all potatoes here, so that's a good. You're in the right place. Yeah, there are some comments on the Lichess chat and not Twitch, because Twitch will automatically censor some of this language, but not the Lichess server. Yeah, bishop to f1. Yeah, this game looks very dangerous for white.
White has to try something like rook c3, rook take f3, rook e3, something like that, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm guessing that he has to.
There's not much else you can try.
Yeah,
So like a3 now, maybe rook c3, then a2, rook takes f3, right? That's a bit of a
some chances.
dirt. And then rook f4, then maybe swing back to rook a3 and then chop the.
Yeah, black
Yeah,
played.
this is nasty. The
Fleming
queen
was
looks
doing very
trapped.
well.
Oh no, the queen is trapped. Yeah, the game
Queen
is
looks trapped.
now the game is
Beautiful.
over.
Beautiful.
Oh no. Yeah, very well
That's
played
a
by
big stuff.
Fleming Kimchi.
Very
That's
nice. Very nice.
Fleming Kimchi. That's Jonathan Aoyong. Well played. We are expecting resonation very soon. Rook B2 played. I think that
Missed it.
yeah
Rook
he
takes
just
e8 and it's
yeah
finished.
I think Rook takes E8 and the game is over. So
D8.
yep, game
Last
is
try is to play queen D8 and hope that it was spotted.
yeah he resigns. Well played. Yeah, we have 2 games left on the board and.
Oh, but
And
he's winning that ending against Sid as we hoped.
whoa, how did this happen?
It's superior ending play.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the pawns when we last see the position, the pawns are very far from being yeah, f6 is definitely something that you don't want to play because now it allows e4 e5 creating a pass pawn. And he basically just make it a lot easier for white to create a pass pawn there. So you should keep the pawn on f7 and then try to change knights. I think that's generally what the plan is.
Okay, let's see the ones where I mean, most of them he lost in time, right? So the only ones that really legitimately beat him were, I mean, besides the mouse slip, call it what? Flaming Kimchi was one of them.
Yeah, Flaming Kimchi is one of
Joshua was
those.
the other one.
Joshua
was the other one.
Joshua was one of them as well. Yes, I agree. So
Yeah, I think all the rest he was either better or winning.
yeah, against Ing Yao he was winning as well, lost on time. Against Sapia he lost a rook. So something happened in the game against Sapia. Okay, so the games are over. The final score are 7-8 with several time losses. So let's try to get the legend on the stream. Can Junior, can you just give him a nudge and share the Zoom link with him? Yeah, I'm seeing him now. He's coming online. And let's welcome Liang. You're on mute.
Hello,
Legend.
Hello, Liang. Thanks very much for the games. You would love to hear, you would love to replay all the commentary, while you were in the middle of it. So, yeah, before we, get on with the games. How do you feel about the whole event? And obviously you lost a few games on time. How do you have any general comments and overall, how do you feel about this?
Oh, I think it was a good event. Thanks for organizing this.
No, it is
think,
our pleasure and honor to have you with us.
Yes,
you could
I think
see-
I need to
yeah.
get used to this timing. There was really very little time at the end, which although you guys warned me, I was caught by surprise as well.
Yeah, I think partially because some of the games were actually not that easy to navigate. So you actually had to think. It's not chess is not, you can't just make moves and without spending time. So yeah, there are many encouraging words I can see for you on Twitch. So any particular games that you want to highlight, that you feel are interesting to mention, and maybe we can hear from you.
I think there were some complicated ones. The Benoni game that I lost, blundered the queen at the end.
Yeah.
That was quite interesting.
Yeah,
And
let's take a look at that one if you like. Yeah, after queen to h4, knight to c4. Yeah.
Interestingly, I don't even know how to open all the games on the Simul. Ah, here it is. Okay. Yeah, so this Benoni game, interestingly, I had prepared the white side a long time ago. This was during the days of when there was still FB chess. And I thought the
Yeah.
the pawn sacrifices in this line was tricky for black actually. And somehow in the middle, I thought my position became better. But I think maybe exchanging the dark square bishops was wrong because then there was no way to pressurize the knights on b6. But I think my opponent played very well in that position. It's a line you play as well, right, Wei Ming? So what do you think of it?
Yeah, I found this system with bishop e3 very very hard to play against, which is evident from all our blitz games on lichess. So yeah, I think in the game, after black played the quite strange d5, d6 d5 on move 25, and after bishop takes c5, I felt that white was in control.
Yeah.
With the bishop pair, the strong pawn on c6, and the fact that you're no longer a pawn down, looks very promising for white. Yeah, rook to b8, queen to d2 was nicely played with the idea of bishop d4, getting rid of the dark square bishops. Yeah, this. Yeah, I'm just going to speed up some computer moves. I think after on move 30, instead of queen e3, bishop takes b6 followed by c7 just wins on the spot, which understandably was missed because you don't really want to take the knight, which looks like a horrible piece on b6. Yeah, but bishop takes bishop takes b6, queen b6, and c7 wins concretely because of the bishop d7 at the end of the line. For example, rook c8 or rook f8, you have bishop d7.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid the opposite color bishop as well.
Yeah, which is it's completely understandable. Queen e3 should still be good, and after bishop d4, queen d4, rook f8, rook e2, knight c8. Yeah, g4 was actually very strong, but a little bit risky for Simul, I think.
I think this is not a position to play in Simul.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the main idea is to get the rook off the f file, I suppose, and then to try to put pressure on d5. Knight to b6, rook to c3. Yep. So far the game is still very logical and well played, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think b4 was kind of like the critical error. Yeah, but on the other hand, it's actually not that easy because the rooks on f file, at least from a practical standpoint, it's not so easy to deal with. All these moves like rook f3, there's h5, and the king side is now looks a little bit shaky.
That's right. Definitely not a position I was very comfortable with at all.
Yeah, and with the other boards to take care of,
it was quite an interesting experience. At the end, it was just about making moves.
Making sensible looking moves.
Leon, was it tiring? Was it exhausting? Compared with just normally playing lichess.
At the end, it was exhausting. I think one of the things I struggled to get on with was that I could only have one board at a time, and the boards just came to me as and when somebody moved. And so unlike a usual Simul where
you could choose,
you kind of have a sides of the board and you can choose which position to make moves on.
Yeah,
this one was a bit more tricky. Yeah,
I think we should give we should have given a kind of a briefing that actually there is a way. So you could go to the main page and then you can select the board that you want to play. You can sort of ignore the auto switch function.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's not very intuitive. I have to agree on that.
I think I should have stuck to my original idea and played with a big screen. Playing with a laptop made it kind of difficult to see the games.
I see. You were not playing on the monitor. I see.
No.
Yeah,
So
that's
maybe one
that's
suggestion
not an
here, but
excuse.
20 seconds increment sounds way too short for the Simul master. Maybe perhaps if it's possible to give maybe a minute or something like that.
yeah,
I
that's
think that
that's
will
quite
be very, very helpful.
that's quite possible.
Otherwise, you just have these lose on times, like a bit meaningless. I mean, Liang was winning most of those games.
Yeah,
I guess it's about managing the time in the Simul. You have as much time as there is. I guess because I didn't know what's the clock situation on the other boards as well. So a lot
Yeah.
of the games got flagged at the end.
yep, yep. I completely agree that
But-
this is something that we should visit. Especially there's going to be another Simul tomorrow by International Master Ravindran Shanmugam, and
I'm looking forward to that.
And actually, Chongyi has amusingly signed up for the event, but we'll get to that
What
in
a
a bit.
beauty.
I remember a story where another strong master decided to play in a simultaneous exhibition by another master. It didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
Yeah, then the other games, I think Joshua played quite a good game against me.
Yeah, we were commenting about the game actually, and I thought
Mm.
that I think at some point Bishop takes C1 on move. I think it was
30. 30 or 31.
yeah on move 30 on move 30. Yeah, we were saying that Rook BD7 would have been stronger.
Mm.
And yeah, now the computer speeds are Rook C2 and G5, which was what I mentioned during the stream. And to try to get rid of the any back rank and dark square issues that could arise after Rook C8.
Yes.
Yeah, this position looks very unpleasant for white because of the but you can go Rook to F1. I think that's the main point. Rook to F1, getting out of the pin, and black is better,
Yes.
but not quite winning.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is the sort of ending that black generally wants in the French Steiners, because after, for instance, Gf4, Rook F4, the E5 pawn would be a constant source of worry for white. It is more of a weakness than a strength now that there's no real attack.
Yes. In fact, I thought it
Can I
was
ask-
it was a bit
Can I just
tricky.
ask,
Sorry.
you-
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think Joshua was your peer. Have you ever played him as a junior?
A number of times actually.
Is this Joshua's first win against you, or has he won before?
I have no idea. The games were a long time ago. I only remember the games I played against Terry To and Ong Chong-yi.
Yeah, there are people commenting on the chats from NUS, people saying thank you for looking after the Singapore crowd amidst this COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, we'll get down to that. I think Dr. Su will share some comments, some insights about the current situation over the coronavirus. Yeah, this game, I think after Bishop takes C1 becomes a bit more tricky because the White King is centralized and
Yes.
and is a lot closer to the A pawn. I think, yeah, Rook D7 and yeah, taking on D2 is and liquidating.
Yeah,
List
it's
to-
just bad.
Yeah, your king is just one tempo short of getting to say
Yeah.
C6 or B6.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
so apparently after king takes D4 you could have gone bishop D2, rook takes D2 and rook B4 check, forcing the king back, and after which the game is kind of equal-ish.
Yes.
Yeah, king E3, rook A4. Yeah, but you are under severe time trouble at that point, I think. So it's all about finding playable moves.
Yes. Any other games caught your eye?
Yeah, the Benoni game was particularly interesting. Yeah, like we mentioned. Then I think the game against Sai Sid,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, was also quite interesting as well. Because a few moves.
One I must have miscalculated, and I thought he was better in that endgame.
For the record, I predicted that you would outplay him in that equal-looking ending.
Yeah, that's right. He says that it doesn't matter. The end game is winning because it was L taking the white pieces, and if it's L taking the black pieces, then black will be winning. So that was basically the sort of argument that we have kind of tried to establish for the last 3 hours.
It sounds like a Bogolyubov saying.
Yeah, that's right. If I win with white, that's because I'm taking white. If I win with black, that's because I'm Bogo. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
Wei
so
Ming,
that's
do you
right.
remember an article? Do you remember an article written about Liang's legendary endgame skills? I recall there was an article about it,
was that in
No
Singapore Chess
lah.
Digest back in those days or?
I think that's
written
just
by
all hype lah.
a very famous author, Junior Tay, an article about the legend.
Yeah, we will get down to that. I wanted to point out that in this game against Sai Sid on move 13, yeah, I was quite interested with the move knight to e2 instead of the move plate because you went d5 liquidating into sort of a quiet position. But after knight to e2 followed by knight to f4 to d3 covering the c5 square
Mm.
and also on the other hand preventing any knight to a5 shenanigans
Mm.
yeah would have been quite promising. But
I
instead
think
yeah.
yeah. No, I think you're right. I thought after all the liquidation, I would still be able to put pressure on c7. But it turns out that was very wrong. He could just play c5 because I thought I would have a fork on c6.
Mhm.
I missed that he could just play rook takes d1 check. That's very simple.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, I think you're referring to the position after move 19 and
Yeah,
knight to c6, but rook takes d1 comes with check, which was a little
Yes.
bit unfortunate.
Yes. But otherwise, your sequence is probably the best, I think, because the key is to pressurize down the c file and the weak c7 pawn.
Yeah, that's right. We were also commenting slightly about the move rook to c6, which according to the com is the best choice available in the position. But I'm curious
Rook
to know.
c6.
Yeah, on move 18. Yeah, and Olympio found.
Oh, rook c6.
Yeah, found some resource here.
Mm.
So after rook takes d1, queen takes d1, rook to d8. Yeah, I was suggesting queen to c2. And yeah, queen e4 was found by Olympio, and that kind of equalizes. For example, after h3, queen takes c2, rook takes c2, and c5. Yeah, so
What about Queen C1? Quite a trick.
yeah, there's queen
Wei
c1,
Ming.
there's queen c1, and now there's black has to find an extremely accurate move here.
Rook d5.
Rook to d5.
Beautiful.
Yeah, with the idea rook c5. And if white goes b4, stopping rook to c5, he has
Knight d8.
knight to d8. Like wow,
Gorgeous.
yeah, this is
Gorgeous.
brilliant. And the point is rook takes c7. Rook takes c7 is not.
Young, do you see all this during the game?
Of course not. lah.
Yeah, that would be a clear use of engine assistance.
Then we have to strip search Liam.
Yeah, after knight to d8, rook takes a6, queen b4. Yeah, position is kind of equalish, and I'll argue that black is even for choice here. Yeah, and I want to jump straight into the ending that say after move 34. Do you feel like this position is winning for white? After move
After
34.
move
34. Let's say king to d4.
Actually, not really. I thought he would have enough resources to hold this position.
Computer gives it a +1 though.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I'm guessing that
by the
yeah, the +1 could be because white eventually captures b5. But
Yeah.
it wouldn't be
Yeah.
enough to make a draw. I was saying that if black manages to exchange knights, then he should be doing fine.
yes.
But somehow you made it look very easy, which I have no idea how. So, rook to c8.
Yeah, I really didn't like Black's move 35 f6 because it just makes it so much easier to create
Yeah.
the pass pawn.
Yep.
I thought he just played something like, I don't know, rook a8 and rook a1 and something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, someone's asking on the chat if rooks are off and with knights on, what happens? And I think that any endgame without rooks would be very dangerous for black. That's my take. Because pawn endings would be definitely winning. With knights, you kind of have it's a bit easier to try to force the exchange of knights. So you need to keep rooks on, that's for sure. And if ideally change the knights, so that's they famously say that all rook endgames are drawn.
Yes. And all knight endgames are like pawn endgames.
That's right. all pawn. So the famous all these sayings that I think Terry has very good education on famous chess sayings from his youth. He might share a bit more about his first trainer, but anyways, after f6, white goes e5, fe5, fe5. Yeah, this looks really dangerous now. Yeah, and
By then I thought
the game is over.
it would be very hard to defend. Yes.
But Liang, do you think earlier he could have exploited his queenside pawn majority? I mean, there's
Yes.
also a saying that queenside pawn majority is an advantage.
Yes. In fact, I thought it was, if anything, equal, and it might be a little bit easier to play for black. But he seemed to play very passively and allowed the king to come up and push pawns, and so he gave me like a lot of tempo on that position.
Yeah, there was this 32 b4, which I mentioned earlier, which could have been problematic for you. I don't know.
Where's the b4 move?
Yeah,
Let's have a look.
Move 32.
That was a move 32.
Yeah, b4.
Yes, computer says b4.
b4 best choice. So great find by Olympio.
But I'm not sure if it's more than just equal.
The idea
It's equal.
So tactical.
The idea of knight takes b4 is very nice. After c takes b3, rook takes c and b2.
Yes.
This is very nice. I was making a case of b takes c4, b3, rook c3, which apparently loses immediately due to rook b8. So instead of rook to c3,
play rook c1.
you have to go rook to c1, which is not an easy move to make at all.
Yeah, b4 is a beautiful move. I didn't see that at all.
Yeah, knight c4, king d4, b2, rook b1, and black kind of just keeps this piece placement. The knight defends b2, the rook defends the knight, and you cannot really dislodge any of these pieces by abnormal means. So, for example, the common choice of g5 would have been very sensible. This looks very likely to be just drawn. I'm not sure whether
if he had played b4, there's a good chance Liang would have lost on time.
Yeah, I would think so.
Very likely, yes.
Yeah, because at the end, everyone was sort of scrambling for due to the time situation. Yeah, so b3, rook c6, and then after this, it just looks very clinical from white. Like, it makes it seem like white is winning from this ending. Yeah, f6 I think was a decisive error. Yeah, this was a very nicely played finish, I think, at the end, with very little time left. So
there's always that part where, as the game is finished, the last person standing will have the most trouble.
Yeah, many people are asking you what you do at the hospital. And any other games before we jump into other things? Any other games that you want to sort of highlight or that comes to mind that are of interest?
I suppose.
Liang, there was one game whereby his pieces were piled up on the king's side. What do you feel are chances at that time?
Which one was
You
that?
know, it was a French defense. He could have played knight f4 at some stage and just pile up his pieces on the king's side.
Oh yeah, that one that I lost, right?
No, that was
I
against.
was in.
Was that against KYTM? No, sorry.
I think that was the one.
No. It's a
not
sleep
that one.
score, right?
Sleep score, yes.
Yeah.
I
that's
think
right.
you lost
Yeah.
on time on that one.
The mouse slip. I think that was the mouse slip game.
No, this is not the mouse.
It's not the
slip
mouse
game.
slip game. This is
Yeah.
this is the one that we said b3, and you
That's
made
right.
the slightly I wouldn't say slightly, but the completely
Very
bizarre maneuver with knight a6, and then we couldn't. We were all trying to understand the moves, and Chonggi was saying that there's no point like trying to understand your moves. So
Yes, what was the logic behind that?
so
It went from 0.9 for white to 2.4 with knight a6,
Yeah.
giving up a full one
What
and a
was the
half.
plan behind knight a6?
Yeah. I don't know what was the plan with knight a6. I think what I wanted to do was to reroute it in a way that I could play bishop a6. And so it went on this circuitous route that felt really wrong. By that time, I didn't know what was the plan in this position.
Yeah, I think we were trying to say that on move 13, white should get on with it on the queen side. You go queen d3, you go knight f4, you go h4, and just do stuff because you don't have time to.
Yes.
You shouldn't be taking your time before black consolidates on the queen side.
That's right.
And
That's right.
yeah, which was actually what happened because of the a3 queen a3 b6 queen d3 g6 bishop h6 rook e8 knight to f4 knight to c7 rook to e1 and now you gain a tempo with bishop a6 queen to c2 a second tempo with rook to c8 rook c1 and now knight b5 comes and suddenly black's position is fine and he's even arguably a bit better.
And then the
Yes.
genius behind knight a6 suddenly becomes apparent.
Well, it's just a blunder. I think if white had just attacked on the king side, that would have been the end.
Yeah, and then queen to a8, yeah, a4 rook c8, and then the knight comes to c3. So that was the point of the whole elaborate maneuver, knight c6
Knight a6.
with knight to
Beautiful.
a6, and then eventually to the central square
C3.
e4, yeah.
Wow. From b4 to e4, how many moves do you take? 1, 2,
Sorry, allow me to
5.
say this, guys, but the absence of evidence of a plan during knight a6 isn't
It's not the
evidence of
absence.
absence.
Yeah, this is a very
Well,
famous
it's just a
saying.
blunder.
It's a very famous saying by a wise man. Yeah, this is now I think black is for choice with the control over the only open file in the position.
Yes.
Yeah, white should really have gone for rook c1 to try to challenge that control. And finally, when bishop a3 was played, that's no longer possible. Knight e1 played, rook to a2, knight to d3, knight to b4. I think this position was, I think somewhere here black lost on you lost some time, but yeah, already it feels like black is winning. Yeah, knight takes e3, fe3, and knight g3, and the game is over. You sort of take the pawns off.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, so
Right.
so this is
Well-
one good example of how you cannot rely on computer evaluations. Stockfish is saying that white is just completely winning with +2, but a few moves later, black is even better. If
I
you
think the
don't,
computers require a certain precise
yeah,
line that you play down to get a large advantage. And once you miss that, which most humans do, then it's no longer possible.
yeah, and
Liang, can I ask something? Was it a specific choice to play the French today?
No, I've been playing the French for a very long time online. I think the main reason is that the rest of the guys like Wei Ming and Terry, they have bashed every single other opening against e4 that I've tried. So I'm
So
reduced
you
to
want
playing the
something
French.
solid.
Maybe I got a clue on why you played e4. Did you play like 1,000 games of e4 with one player?
E4?
d4 you mean?
French defense.
French defense? No, not really. No.
Okay.
The French I learned from watching Wei Ming's games.
No, come on.
Yeah, I adopted even this bishop e7 line against knight d2.
Yeah, this
But
kind
of course, clearly, I didn't learn well enough. Otherwise, there wouldn't be this bizarre knight a6 type sequences.
yeah.
The absence of evidence isn't, there was a plan after all.
Yep.
Then there was that interesting game by the King's Indian game where he was a pawn up. But there was, I think it's the last game. It's the last game there on the bottom row, the furthest right.
Is that against SSL?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, SSL.
SS. Let me check.
So
Is that 孙世莲?
Liang, do you think
Yeah, that's 孙世莲. What do you think
孙世莲?
about the King's Indian in general? I think you don't have a too high an opinion of King's Indian, yeah? Judging from your big score with white.
Not really. I lost a lot of King's Indian games in the past, and you know that I changed out the Bishop G2 line because it was just not getting the results.
Mm-hmm.
I think for this kind of event, it's the right choice of opening. I don't understand the move B6 and all that though. It doesn't seem very like the usual way to play a King's Indian.
Yeah, B6 is not the...
Do you think black has compensation for the pawn in these positions?
I don't think there's a need to give up the pawn. I know Kasparov plays a lot of games where he gives up the d6 pawn, but in this position, I don't think there's that much compensation for the pawn.
I'm curious about your fascination with putting your bishop on e3. You seem to like a lot of, whether against Benoni, against King's Indian, even against Grunfeld. You love having your bishop on e3.
Yes, there's a sense of security in having a bishop on e3. It protects and it covers many squares on the board. Ignore all that, of course. That's the position. Well, you know, it depends on the position.
We are foreseeing that there will be a burst in popularity with bishop e3 lines after this. If people are actually watching this. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that
unless you play it.
There's a fair bit of number of viewers right now, and we have been sort of advertising the strength of bishop e3, and also bishop h4, and any moves that any piece that lands on the h4 square didn't turn out too well for your opponent. So yeah. So thanks very much again. Yeah. So do you want to say something?
No problem. I was just thinking that did you look at the Grunfeld game? I thought that was a very difficult game actually, and in the end I lost. I blundered the rook in time trouble, but the position all along was just very difficult to play. So my opponent Sapia 6-6 played really well.
Yeah, Frank. But this is a Catalan, yeah.
That's right.
That's a Catalan. Yeah, that was the first game we checked. And then we got distracted with a lot of topics on like small potatoes and the such. So yeah, I think firstly on move, I think was it 11? After a5, Chongyi was pointing out the possibility of playing bishop d5, and no, not in this position because. It cannot be this position because c7 was hanging.
Actually, I was thinking just sack c7.
You wanted to sacrifice c7, yeah? No, but yeah, this I'm not so sure because getting the rook on c2 may not be. At least it's not so common. I go knight c3. Yeah, rook takes b2 is the only logical move there, and then I go rook fb1, and then you see having the a5 pawn against the b7 a6 structure is likely to give white some worries in the resulting major endgame, minor piece endgame.
Yeah. Played a lot of games in the Catalan.
Yeah, against
1,000 games.
Must have been close to that.
Until Senti pawn 7 and 8. I had to describe to the audience what Senti pawn meant in order to illustrate the deep research that the two ex-gifteds did in this opening.
Very funny. Yeah, but all in all, I thought that was an interesting Catalan game, and I don't think I played badly. And my opponent certainly played pretty well. Yeah.
So I think computer gives on move 34 rook ac8 rather than rook takes d6. But by the time you probably were in such time trouble that...
was just
It was
making
hard.
one move every game. Every time the board
Because-
appeared, I had to make a move.
After rook d3, you have rook c6, and I think you probably win the pawn, right? Rook d7, rook c7, and you just chop off the pawn.
Yeah, rook c8
Yeah.
preventing knight c4 certainly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Not
And then rook d3, rook c8, rook c6.
yeah. Olympio is disconnected from the stream, but thank you very much for joining, Olympio.
Mm.
Yeah, he shared the story about why you're also known as the vampire. So that was quite interesting. You should replay
Gosh, that's terrible.
that. We haven't even told the story about Barcelona and
No.
yeah.
No
how-
Barcelona, no. Well, Bishop h4, we didn't go into the gory details. We just mentioned that two players played the move Bishop h4 against you, and you felt almost compelled to punish them.
I hope you're getting a lot of donations for getting these kinds of stories out.
Yeah, I'll check the Google file, but
If
the
it's only a 3-digit figure, then it's
it's not.
clearly too cheap.
I think the Barcelona story was is really excellent, but yeah, I think move coming back to the game, I think move 34 rook a8 is probably the point when you would have consolidated the game. Yeah, after knight c4 rook d5 looks knight b6 blunders the rook, so
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
unfortunate.
Yes. But even if he didn't play d6, he had just moved rook d1 instead. I think this was move 32.
Rook
That would have been
b1,
okay.
bishop a3,
Rook
rook d1,
d1,
defending d5.
Yeah, the d5 pawn is very strong.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, pawn up. I would go. Let's say rook a8. Rook a8 and followed by f5 at some point.
Have to probably play g4 and f3 and try to anchor the knight there.
Yeah,
Prevent the other pawns from pushing. Yeah.
Yeah, this would be a complex ending. I think all three results are possible. Like rook c4. After g4, rook c4. And then eventually trying to bring the bishop back with bishop b2.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks very
I mean, I
interesting.
was just thinking that throughout this game, even if I had not played a Simul, I don't think I would have gotten any other results.
Yeah,
I would have played any differently. Yeah.
that's very high praise for Frank. So Frank, if you are watching this, this should make your day, or your entire week.
Yeah, the other game that I thought was really interesting was the one against Uncle Leo the Novice, because it's quite clear that white was better almost throughout, but it just requires so much calculation, which in a Simul, maybe not a terrible match strategy for Uncle Leo to deploy, especially with the knight against the bishop.
I contemplated whether or not to take the pawn and to get into this messy position with the shattered king side. And I thought it seemed like the proper way to play this position.
Yeah, that's the
Because in reality it's quite easily a winning position.
Yeah.
yeah, this is the principled way to play. I think getting the double pawns, winning a pawn, and then getting the better bishop against the knight. And we were about to say, we were saying that you're going to illustrate what it means to defend a better position against this kingside attacks that normally don't go anywhere against you. So yeah, after queen f6, 94, queen to g2, and then followed by taking on b7. This is the most principled way of playing, but at the same time it gives black some kind of tricks to play for. And eventually it took too much time, and that was what caused the final result.
Yes.
Yep. So this was quite a smooth game, apart from the end where you ran out of time.
Yeah, time was really quite an interesting phenomenon. At first it just took like a lot of time. And once it was down to I think 15 minutes on the clock, it just went by very quickly.
Yeah, Just going through some of the comments on the chat. So Ash Chash says that the increment has to be the same for both the master and the opponents. So if you set it as 1 minute increment for each move, the opponent will also get that. So I think the logical thing would be just to have a bit more time than 80 minutes for the whole uh, as a base starting point. Then LT2 Adnan, I don't know if you mean Lieutenant Adnan. Thanks so much for the game. Greetings from NUS. Uh, Andre Tarakov says, great entertainment. Thank you to all of us. And then Goose Feathers wants to gate crash the Zoom meeting. So, yeah, so thank you very much again for your very rare public appearance. I think this is the first time that you played chess on the, to a much bigger crowd for the last 20 years, I would say.
Yes, 20 years.
Yeah, so
That's
this is extremely rare for Dr. Su Liang, and who those of you who might not be aware, he's a very well-known infectious disease physician, and obviously he's very busy right now with the current coronavirus pandemic. Maybe you can share with us some insights about the current situation. I see that there are about 600 over cases today, just released by Straits Times. So, do you have any thoughts, and what do you think about the latest circuit breaker extension and the fact that I can no longer go and cut my hair, and and McDonald's has
The
closed
hair
down.
is fine. It's the bubble tea that all of us are pretty upset about.
You can still order bubble tea. There are still some restaurants where you can buy bubble tea from. Those are the ones that also provide other food. Yeah, so I'm not sure what you want to know about COVID-19 that's not already in the news. I think we learned a lot over this past 4.5 months, ever since it started. Learned a lot in the sense that all our preconceptions were thrown out of the window time and time again. How a coronavirus should behave, what is going to happen and how it spreads. I think those were very humbling lessons for a lot of us. Singapore, as you know, went from being a gold standard to an object lesson. But nonetheless, the reassurance is that the current measures are working, even though they are painful. And the counts of cases in the greater community outside of the dorms is coming down. In the foreign worker dormitories, it's been a tragedy because they have all been living in very cramped quarters, some at 12 to 20 persons in a room. And I think there's a lot of finger pointing online, some of which is correct. But when I went to check what are the International Labour Organization standards for dormitories, it turns out that ours is better by a little bit. But of course, moving on from this, I think Singapore being a wealthy country can do more for our migrant workers that work in Singapore. Even if you just think for a very selfish reason that whatever happens to them will ultimately flow back into the community in terms of the transmission of the disease. What's happening in the rest of the world is that we are not even halfway through the pandemic at this point in time. A lot of countries have gotten over their first waves and are all thinking of opening up the way we probably will be from June onwards. But moving onwards, I don't think anyone really knows what's the right way for the economy to go, or how should people mix, or whether people should travel the way they have again. So there's a lot of uncertainty for all of us, not just the people out there, but also for hospitals, the doctors, companies that make diagnostics like Lucence, that Wei Ming is in, has pivoted almost entirely from cancer diagnostics now to COVID-19 diagnostics. And that just shows how radical the situation it is. And Razer, as you know, is making masks in Singapore.
Yeah.
So
I do not know whether we can ever go back to normal, or whether there will be a new normal after this, as what my CEO says, likes to say. So yeah, do you see that this extension, this circuit breaker measures could even be extended beyond June. Of course, nothing is certain at this juncture.
I think
But-
it depends on the intent. Like, I think Singapore's strategy at this point is to just bring down the transmission to very low in the community. And by very low, I think if there are less than 10 cases that pop up every day, that's now considered very low. Then probably by 1st June, some of the measures of the circuit breaker will end. I think like many other countries, it won't be a general release. So it won't be all the malls opening at once, and all the schools opening at once, but probably the measures will be relaxed bit by bit. What New Zealand is trying to do, and some other countries, is they try to eliminate it altogether from within their borders. So they want it zero. Some countries and territories are very near to that, like Hong Kong and Taiwan have been very successful. And if they do achieve that, then the next issue is how to prevent it from coming in again. But I think the more serious impact is on the economy. And thankfully, we have Chong Yi here who might be able to comment on that, even if he can't tell us what stocks we should be buying at this time.
The future of the economy is highly uncertain.
But if a vaccine cannot be found, do you think life can still go back to normal?
I don't know what it means to be normal at this point. I think every time there's been a very major pandemic or very major crisis, life is not really normal again after that, or things will have to change after that. Like if you remember when the Twin Towers went down, and the airport security just became so ridiculous. But we have kind of accepted that now. Yeah, and these things will change the way we behave and act in ways that I think we can't foresee at this point in time. I think everyone hopes that there will be a vaccine, and with 70 vaccines in trials and in development somewhere, we are bound to get a couple at least that will work. But I think the trouble with it is that we also don't expect the immunity to be lifelong. So I don't think we're all banking our hopes for a vaccine to appear that will make this virus disappear forever.
Wow, thanks for the very deep insights about the current pandemic situation. Any final comments from the famous chess club Balestier group?
Yes. Will this be a permanent comeback for Dr. Su Liang? Will he be returning to tournament chess?
No, as you can see, I'm so very rusty now. And it's very hard to play tournament chess. I see the way Wei Ming struggled to play his tournaments and to make his final GM norms. And I think the rest of us, including the very comfortable Terry and Chong Yi, will find it difficult to play chess other than for fun and leisure.
So no tournament, no proper standard chess events for the foreseeable future.
It has 81%.
Give me a second.
Well, we were all thinking we would, in the past, before this pandemic, we were all thinking maybe one day we could all play in the World Seniors, individuals or teams. Maybe there's still something to look forward to.
Yeah, sounds very good.
What about chess politics? Is there any chance that you could be the next SCF president?
No, not at all.
That's putting him in a spot. You'll be punished for this. We were trying to, you can share the disproportionate punishment that you have received over the last few years because of saying something that is out of line. But we'll save that for another day. So
life is tough.
Okay, so
thanks very much.
Thank you very much for joining the stream to Mr. Ong Chong Yi, Terry, Dr. Su Liang. Olympia who has left the stream. Thanks very much for being with us on Saturday afternoon. We have something exciting coming up next week as well. That's International Master Ravindran Shanmugam, who has not played chess competitively for a while now, and Chongi himself has signed up, I think as a joke, to be one of the participants.
Oh, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I am Ravi is obviously a very strong player, and I was just about to ask Professor Su any advice he has for someone playing on the other side of it. What would make the Simul Master most uncomfortable and maximize my chances of getting a draw against the young international master?
I think your style is already very uncomfortable for most Simul masters, although perhaps you are overqualified to be playing in Simuls against international masters.
Okay, just also if you see the if you see the top left corner of the screen, you see that we have currently raised 37,000 plus of our Chess Against COVID initiative. Thanks very much for the generous donation. But let's keep going. We have a lot of other events coming up now that we know that Circuit Breaker has extended to 1st of June. On the 3rd of May, we are going to have a huge 20-player match, 40-player match, Singapore versus Kazakhstan, starting from 4 p.m. Singapore time. So that's going to be streamed live with commentary from myself and Grandmaster Rinat Jumabayev. He's the number one player in Kazakhstan. His rating is 2654, a super grandmaster, better than any of us can even hope to achieve. And on the 2nd of May, just the day before, we are going to have Grandmaster Daniel Fernandez giving a simultaneous exhibition. He grew up in Singapore. He became a great chess player, learning chess in Singapore. He's now based in the UK. And he has also kindly offered his time to contribute to our initiative. So more news and details to be provided very soon. And so once again, thanks very much for your time, and I'll see you very soon tomorrow, 2 p.m. Singapore time. Chongi will be playing. Maybe he will even stream his moves live. And thanks once again. Thanks everyone. Thanks to the co-commenters that